Chapter 321. What kind of person is he? After Ayn Rand left the Mo family, she went to see old Mrs. Mo, wanting to know what happened. "Grandma, I'm here to see you again." Ayn Rand smiled and placed a bag of peanut crisps on the table. "Ayn Rand, you're here. The peanut crisps were delicious last time. I was wondering when you were going to buy another bag, and you really bought one," old Mrs. Mo smiled and said. "I'm guessing that Grandma must have finished eating the others, so I bought some for you. Do you like it, Grandma?" Ayn Rand smiled and said, "I like it. Recently, I've been drinking a prescription and feel better and better. By the way, I've asked someone about the matter you asked me about, and they said that the Wrong City Research Institute is full. They have a strict system, so I can't say anything. Don't blame Grandma." Old Mrs. Mo smiled and patted Ayn Rand's hand. "It's alright. It's great that Grandma can help. I can only wait until next year." Ayn Rand was regretful. She knew that the Research Institute had a secret, and old Mrs. Mo was helping to conceal it. Perhaps they were afraid that she would discover something. "I know many good hospitals. I can let you enter the best hospitals to be a doctor. I think you can do it. It'll be easy to get into a position in 2 years." "It's alright, Grandma. I just wanted to go to the Research Institute, but I don't think there's anything I can do. I'm a traditional Chinese medicine practitioner, and my parents run a hospital. I didn't go there because I want to go to the Research Institute." Ayn Rand smiled and said, "You have aspirations, but the evaluation of the Research Institute is slow, and the work is boring and busy. You and Jinrong might not even have a chance to meet in the future." Old Mrs. Mo was worried. "Speaking of which, how far have you and Jinrong progressed? I know that your marriage to Jinrong was arranged by both of our families, but the two of you seem to be all right." Old Mrs. Mo smiled brightly at the mention of this. "Grandma, we are all right." Ayn Rand lowered her head and smiled, a little embarrassed. "Just all right? I saw the two of you together." Old Mrs. Mo was too old to explain, so she showed the photos. Ayn Rand looked at them and felt even more embarrassed. "Grandma, why did you find someone to secretly take photos of me?" "Grandma didn't do these secretly. Mo-san sent them to me. You're displaying such public affection in front of Mo-san, and you refuse to let him tell me?" Old Mrs. Mo smiled and said, "Grandma, let's not talk about this anymore. Your face is flushed. My grandson is indeed good-looking and smart. Don't worry. He is single-minded and will not treat you badly," old Mrs. Mo said. "I know, Grandma. I believe in him." Ayn Rand nodded with a smile. The tension eased and Ayn Rand spoke again. "Grandma, can you tell me about Mo Shengli?" Ayn Rand asked curiously. "Why are you suddenly interested in him?" old Mrs. Mo asked. "It's just that one of Jinrong's psychologists told me about Jinrong's illness was probably related to him. Back then, did Jinrong see something on the ship but was shocked and forgot?" Ayn Rand asked. "Really? Let me think. I remember that Jinrong was indeed ill during the storm. Later, he developed a high fever for several days. Back then, someone said that Sheng Li's ghost possessed Jinrong. Although I didn't believe it, I couldn't stop the rumors. The strange thing is that he got better the next day. Later on, I asked him to bring it along with him until he reached adulthood. As for Sheng Li, he was old master's flesh and blood. Even though his mother wasn't by his side, I did my best to help him. He was humble, polite, and a good child from a young age. He was first in his studies and never worried me. I was at ease with him, but he was often bullied because he was an illegitimate son. He was introverted and didn't like to talk to others. He hid everything in his heart. I don't know what he was thinking, but he seemed pretty good. It wasn't until one day he suddenly told me he wanted to learn computer science. I was puzzled as to why he didn't learn some martial arts and wanted to learn computer science. He said that he was interested, but I didn't pay attention to it. Later on, he really became very talented in computer science and won very big rewards in a row. Back then, his name was known throughout the world, and I was proud of him. As a result, I was no longer worried about him and ignored him to focus on Jinrong. Old Mrs. Mo spoke tirelessly, and Ayn Rand listened attentively. According to old Mrs. Mo, Mo Sheng-li should be a powerful person. At the very least, the less talkative a person is, the deeper they hid themselves. Jinrong was still young and had always treated his uncle as a role model. He was the one who suggested going to sea that time, and we didn't think too much about it. We didn't expect such a thing to happen. Old Mrs. Mo was upset. Grandpa, don't be sad. It'll be easier for us if we know everything. I guess that Jinrong saw something before but forgot about it later. Aaron guessed. Really? Then let your friend do a thorough check. After Jinrong's illness is cured, let her come over for a meal. I want to thank her properly. Old Mrs. Mo smiled and said, Definitely. After that, Aaron stayed for a meal before leaving. Because of the previous incident, Yanran's name became famous and many people wanted to collaborate with him, thinking that he had a lot of popularity and topics to talk about. His exposure was the highest right now. Yanran, I need you to choose a few programs and movies to participate in. Your schedule has been very packed recently and you'll be staying in a hotel. You'll definitely be running around. Wang King smiled and said, Yanran is the most troublesome and most promising celebrity she had ever seen. It's alright, I will just treat it as a vacation, Yanran smiled and said. His journey as a star had just begun. He looked at the nurse in Wang King's hands, his eyes fixed on the movie script. Sis Wang, am I the second lead in the movie? I was a little surprised. Why? Do you want to be the male lead? Wang King smiled and said. No, this movie is directed by director Ning. Everyone wants to act in it. Besides, the female lead and the male lead are both big shots. I don't have the confidence. Yanran felt that even though he was a little popular, he can't compare himself with these capable people. It was inevitable that others would criticize him. You're a small star now. You have to hurry and transform so you can stay in the entertainment circle longer, Wang King continued. Last time, even your goddess, Li Shishi, wanted to be the female lead in this movie. It's a pity she wasn't qualified. Even girls want to change careers. Do you want that? When Yanran heard that it was Li Shishi, his eyes flashed. She had screwed him over badly last time. Fortunately, she wasn't in the drama, or he wouldn't know how to face it. The image of his first goddess was destroyed just like that. Sis Wang, you're right. I want to become stronger. I will act well, Yanran promised. Although the workload was huge, he was full of confidence. This is because of how the entertainment circle was. Those who supported the strong stepped on the weak. If you weren't strong, others would climb over your shoulders. Yanran didn't want to be stepped on. Chapter 322, Money Shaking Tree. That's right. I'll help you solve the problem, don't worry, Wang King promised. She had earned a lot of money due to Yanran, so she had to grasp this money tree well. Yanran, your sister is a good seedling. Do you want to persuade her? Wang King smiled and said, Sis Wang, don't have any designs on her. She wants to be a doctor. If she comes to the entertainment circle, how am I going to survive? Yanran smiled and said, Rascal, things are going to change if your sister comes to the entertainment circle. Wang King smiled and said, Sis Wang, I've been so popular recently. Will it attract some attention from other competitors? Yanran was worried. He was a popular young man, and there were many people who had the same image as him. Now that he was so famous, it was possible that he had snatched someone else's resources. There weren't many friends in the entertainment circle. Yeah, they will. But don't worry, this is normal. In a few days, when you accept scripts and variety shows, make more friends and push your remaining resources to others to get their connections. They will help you. Wang King smiled. Yanran basically made his debut based on scandals, so he didn't have many friends. It was useful to have a few good friends in the entertainment industry at critical times. Look at this. This is the script for your speech in a few days. Practice it more and make sure your pronunciation is very accurate. Wang King gave the script to Yanran. This was for a talk show and Yanran was going to give an opening speech. He took it and looked it over. He scratched his head. It was all in English. His English was alright, but on reading a few pages, he could be facing many foreigners. It would be embarrassing if he didn't pronounce it properly. You have to believe in yourself. This variety show will start its first live broadcast in a week. You have to work hard. You can do it, Wang King encouraged. Yanran nodded, took the manuscript, and began to recite it loudly. When Yaksa returned home, the more she thought about it, the angrier she got. She remembered the name card. Tan Shilin. She picked up the phone and dialed the number. The call connected. Hey, I promised to help you, but Mojin Rong isn't letting me in now. You have to help me. Tan Shilin smiled. Don't worry, with me around, what are you worried about? He hung up and heard the woman's voice. Mr. Tan, which vixen is she? Tan Shilin looked at the charming woman beside him and couldn't help kissing her. She is Mojin Rong's wife's sister. Just a little girl. Lan Anran's sister? The woman beside him was Li Shishi. She frowned. Yeah, you know her? Tan Shilin lowered his head. It really is her. Her brother, Lan Yanran, is my fan. That brat tortured me last time, Mr. Lin. You must help me. Li Shishi said coquettishly. Lan Yanran is a pretty woman, but if she dares to touch you, I will never forgive her. Tan Shilin was a little surprised. Seeing Anran was so quiet, he didn't expect her to be such a powerful person. Mr. Tan, you're the best. Will you honor the resources you promised me? Li Shishi smiled and drew circles on Tan Shilin's chest. Of course. When have I broken my promises? As long as you're a good girl, I can spend money on researches and even support you. Tan Shilin hugged Li Shishi's shoulders and smiled. Really, Boss Tan, you're the best. Li Shishi's eyes lit up. Then think of a way to repay me. Tan Shilin smiled evilly and stared at Li Shishi. I will definitely serve you well. With that, the two of them began a romp-and-larai on the bed, which took more than an hour. Boss Tan, you're so amazing. Li Shishi panted slightly. Her voice softened and she smiled. It's because you're pretty. Who else in the entertainment industry can be prettier than you? Everyone in the circle knew that Tan Shilin liked beautiful women, and many women had sent themselves over for resources and jobs. He had interacted with many internet celebrities and stars. Li Shishi was indeed more beautiful, and this time she came knocking on his door. You're the only one who knows how to talk, Mr. Tan. You haven't said how you're going to teach Anran, that brat, a lesson. Li Shishi asked impatiently. Why are you in such a hurry? She is Mojin Rong's wife. I have to think about it. I still have a deal with the Mo family. I can't let anything go wrong. Tan Shilin really liked Anran, especially because she was Mojin Rong's wife, which could only be chanced upon by luck. Mr. Tan, don't tell me you like Anran and want to make her your lover. Li Shishi sat up angrily. What are you thinking? How can I like someone else's wife? I only like you, little darling. Tan Shilin didn't admit it, but continued to deceive her. That's good. That brat Anran has a lot of dirt on me. If Yanran wasn't so popular right now, I would have chased him out of the entertainment circle. Li Shishi was enraged. Baby, don't be angry. Don't worry. With me around, I won't let you get bullied. Tan Shilin kissed Li Shishi's forehead and promised solemnly. Don't lie to me, okay? Will your wife be angry? Li Shishi asked in an especially innocent tone. That old woman is nothing. We don't have any feelings for each other anymore. Back then, my dad forced us to be together. She can't control me now. Tan Shilin was frustrated at the thought of the old woman and his family. She was 5 or 6 years older than him, and he was extremely poor. He didn't know what old master had in mind for him to insist on bringing them together. Now that she had become an old and ugly woman, besides knowing how to do business, she had no other assets. He didn't even want to go home. It was because of this that he wanted to obtain the rights to cooperate with Mojin Rong, surpassing his wife. But now I want a branded bag. I've wanted it for a long time, but I don't have any money to buy it, Li Shishi begged. Sure, my woman can have anything she wants as long as you serve me well. With that said, Tan Shilin flipped her over and pressed Li Shishi under him. The panting in the room gradually became louder. At the Qin family, Qin Hao was in the study room looking at the sales chart in the Qin family. What is going on? Is it slipping again this month? Qin Hao was a little anxious. He had never received such a result abroad. Dad, We are still testing the domestic market and don't know many things, so we might not know the situation yet, Qin Taiyan replied. Damn it, it's been so long. What are these people doing? If they don't have any good ideas, they can get lost. I can replace them, Qin Hao replied angrily. Dad, it's inevitable. Most of the market in Rong City is occupied by the Mo family, and there are traces of the Mo family in other cities. Compared to them, we are indeed a little weak. Besides, haven't the Mo family recently hired a new designer called Ki Cha? She seems to be a famous overseas designer. Her work alone is worth hundreds of millions, and she never makes promises to others easily. I don't know why, but she actually agreed to Mo Zhengrong's request, Qin Taiyan explained. Ki Cha? Let's take advantage of the fact that she hasn't arrived in Rong City and stop her. Agree to all her conditions and poach her over. I don't believe a young boy can play with me. Qin Hao was old and had never seen someone he couldn't pass. Chapter 323. I'll protect you in Rong City from now on. Dad, Mo Zhengrong is extremely powerful. He must have used some special method to invite Ki Cha over. Qin Taiyan guessed. Who cares? Everyone loves money. Raise the price. Qin Hao only wanted to poach Ki Cha to surpass Mo Zhengrong. Alright, Dad. I'm going to class. There's still a class today. Qin Taiyan thought about the last 2 classes in the afternoon and realized he hadn't been in school in such a long time. As he was an exchange student, he had special rights and had taken about half a month off. Today was the end of the leave. So, how is your sister? Qin Hao was concerned. She's alright. She's just upset and has been hiding in her room. After she was discharged from the hospital, Qin Shu had been hiding in her room. Her meals were sent in by a nanny, but she didn't eat much. This won't do. Take her out on a walk after school. Mo Zhengrong broke Shuer's heart. He was her first love, and yet he lied to my daughter. I will never forgive him. Qin Hao was furious. His precious daughter had never been so upset before. After bidding farewell to his father, Qin Taiyan sent someone to find Ki Cha. He learned that she would have taken a plane to Rong City Airport an hour after school. He went to Rong City Airport after school. At the airport, a beautiful woman wearing large sunglasses and different colored braids pushed a large suitcase out. She had a lollipop in her mouth and was looking around as though she was looking for someone. Qin Taiyan stood at the exit with photos, eliminating people who aren't Ki Cha. Suddenly, a woman appeared in his sights. He was about to step forward when a familiar figure appeared in front of him. Lan Anran? What is she doing here? Qin Taiyan thought he was seeing things, but when he walked over, he saw Anran chatting happily with Ki Cha. She and Ki Cha are friends? How is that possible? Although Qin Taiyan was doubtful, he still went forward to greet them. Hello, Miss Lan, Designer Ki. When Anran looked at the person in front of her in surprise, was he following her? What are you doing here? She received Ki Cha's message and came to pick her up. After all, she was Ki Cha's only friend in this city. Miss Ki Cha, I want to talk to you about joining the Qin group. Qin Taiyan smiled. I have decided to serve the Mo Corporation. You don't have to waste your time. Ki Cha said politely and smiled gently. Miss Ki Cha, I know that the Mo Corporation may have given you a lot of remuneration or made you various promises, but the Qin group can do the same and will give you a higher reward than the Mo Corporation. How about double? Qin Taiyan smiled and looked at Anran confidently. Anran smiled disdainfully. Mr. Qin, do you think everyone likes money? I'm sorry, Mr. Qin. I have promised the Mo Corporation. Besides, I don't lack money. The Mo Corporation has offered me a very good deal, but I have accepted the lower salary. I am not here for money. Mr. Qin, you can leave. Ki Cha smiled. Anran was a little surprised. She thought that Mo Zhengrong had given her a lot of money, but she didn't expect it to be like this. Anran, let's go. I'm tired from the flight. Let's go back to the hotel, Ki Cha said, exhausted. Qin Taiyan stood in a daze. If Ki Cha wasn't here for money, why was she here? He chased after her reluctantly. Miss Keechaw, wait a minute. Since it's not about money, I would like to know what moved you. My kin family can do the same. Feelings. Keechaw smiled and left with her suitcase. The word lingered in Kin Tyan's mind. Feelings? Are Keechaw and Mojin wrong? He couldn't poach Keechaw, as she was indeed extraordinary. Kin Tyan watched her leave with mixed feelings. In the car, Keechaw leaned against Anran and closed her eyes, enjoying herself. Hello, designer. What are you referring to? Anran was confused. It's you. Keechaw opened her eyes and smiled. Me? Anran was a little surprised. Yes, it's you. Why else do you think I came? It's because of you. Mojin said that we could be friends. I didn't expect his wife to be you. Why didn't you tell me you were getting married? Keechaw reproached her. Sorry, it was necessary for me to keep it a secret, but it's all right now. Don't worry. From now on, I will protect you in Wrong City. Anran smiled and said, Yeah, right. You're so busy. I might not even see you for more than 2 or 3 days. Keechaw smiled. She and Anran had known each other for many years. In the past, Anran would often be out on missions for 3 to 4 days to earn money. She was also extremely worrisome when she was abroad. Speaking of taking care of someone she didn't know, she would be taking care of who? No, I'm staying with my parents now. They took me home, and I'm going home on time every day. Otherwise, they would be worried. I'm back in my home country, so I didn't accept many missions. I've just earned 1.5 billion yuan, so I'll give you 1 billion. You can play as much as you want. I also bought a villa in Huyan district for you. Stay there, and don't stay at a hotel, Anran smiled and said. When she was abroad, she lived with Keechaw and was often out on missions at night. It was normal for her to be gone for 2 weeks. Keechaw had been worried about her, so it wasn't overboard to buy her an apartment now. You're the best. It's a blessing to have a rich woman as a friend, but I don't want the 1 billion. I have money, and now that my net worth is in the billions, how can I not have money? Keechaw smiled. Before she became famous, Anran would often do missions to help her. Now that she was rich, how could she still ask for her money? That's true. Our Miss Keechaw is worth billions now. She wouldn't be interested in my little money. Anran smiled. I haven't been in Wrong City in 10 years. My parents took me abroad when I was a child, but now everything has changed. Keechaw looked out the window and sighed. Let me show you around Wrong City in the next 2 days, Anran said. When they arrived to the estate, a villa in front of her attracted Keechaw's attention. The apartment was much better than the one she had overseas. This house isn't cheap, right? Keechaw looked around. Chapter 324, Talent and Design. It's not expensive, just 80 million. You can stay here without worry. Everything here is the best. Due to the uniqueness of your work, I have specially arranged a creative studio for you. There is everything inside, as well as a drawing board and a gaming room that you'll like. Most importantly, there's a large swimming pool that you can see right through that window. Anran pulled the window open and gestured to the large swimming pool outside. The water was sparkling, and Keechaw had the urge to jump in. Anran, you're the bestest friend in the world. Keechaw hugged Anran and said coquettishly, Alright, many people will want to poach you after you return to the country. What do you plan to do? Anran asked. I said I would create the best work in the Mo Corporation. Don't worry, since you have given me this house, I won't be able to escape. Who was that just now? Keechaw smiled. Kin Tyan, the young master of the Kin group. He probably saw the news of you coming back and wanted to poach you over. Anran smiled and said, Speaking of Mojin Rong, I'm curious about how he got into your heart. Although it was only a video call, he is very good looking. You don't judge a book by its cover, do you? Keechaw questioned. Of course not. It was decided by the elders of both families. I had no choice. Anran shook her head and smiled. Cut it out. We've been together for so many years, and you haven't even told me the truth. You aren't the type to give in to an arranged marriages. Tell me how it happened. Keechaw tightened her grip on Anran's neck, forcing her to speak. Anran didn't know how to explain that she fell in love with Mojin because she transmigrated and was reborn. She wouldn't believe it even if she told her. Would something like this scare people to death? Anran had no choice but to make up a reason. It was love at first sight for him, so I gave in, and Anran became embarrassed as she spoke. Hey, you're embarrassed? You and Mojinrong are actually quite compatible. Where is my cute little puppy? Kicha looked at the ceiling with a disconsolate expression. Come on, you didn't want to get married. Previously, when a handsome big star from abroad wanted to woo you, you didn't even agree to it. Now you're wallowing in self-pity? Anran smiled and said. Kicha was a celibate person. After her parents went abroad, they divorced and started their own families. She became the redundant one. Her parents didn't care about her, which was why she became like this. She yearned for love but didn't dare to. Forget it, let's not talk about it. Come take a look at my latest designs. I heard that your husband held a design show to promote the company in order to celebrate my return to the country. These are designs by me. Which one should I wear? Kicha took out many latest designs from her suitcase and placed them on the bed to try. She hadn't heard about this design show, but since it was going to be held, what she wore had to be grand. He designed all of these? There are so many. Anna was a little surprised. Of course, these are all unique to Kicha's designs and can't be bought on the market. Hurry and help me see which one is prettier. Kicha pulled Anran. Anran saw a pale pink gown in a box from a glance. It was embroidered with lotus leaves, revealing half of the shoulders. This one's pretty good. Anran examined it. The back was hollowed and the elegant collarbones could be seen in front. Really, this one's a little flawed. I didn't consider the leg problem when I did it, but it's too late to change it now. Kicha was a little regretful as she saw this. So you just want to show off your long legs? That's easy. Anran smiled and took the clothes to the studio. There was some white lace trimming inside. She took a pair of scissors and directly cut the material from the bottom up. With a glance, she measured Kicha's waist with her eyes and beautifully overlaid it with the white lace trim, making it look very elegant. The appearance of the dress changed in 2 minutes. I didn't know you had such talent. It seems my position's in jeopardy. Kicha looked at the clothes in surprise. What? It's simple. I just need your help with one thing, Anran said. What? Kicha pressed her ear close and listened curiously. Look after Mojinrong for me. Mojinrong is a tall, rich, and handsome man. There are many people sticking to him, and often some women will go over to him. Tell me when you see them. Mojinrong's lifestyle isn't very good. Aren't you going to come along and look at your man? Kicha smiled. She didn't like things like spying. He already knows my identity. If he finds out that I'm watching him, I'm dead. The thought of Mojinrong being angry gave Anran a headache. Alright, I'll go to work tomorrow and keep an eye out for you. Kicha had no choice. She wanted to see Mojinrong's charm too. At the Mo family, young master, everything is prepared and we're just waiting for Miss Kicha to come. I have released the news and many are looking forward to her new work. Mo-san smiled. Okay, do you know anything about the Kin family? Mojinrong asked without raising his head. The Kin family's performance has been plummeting. I heard that Kin Hao is furious. Watch him closely. He isn't easy to deal with. The thought gave Mojinrong a headache. Young master, how long is Shang Taiyan's career going to stop for? Many patients are asking for news. Mo-san asked curiously. Since Shang Taiyan's name appeared, there has been no end to the business. If they stop now, will the patients panic? I don't know. It might end just like that. Tell the patients to be prepared, Mojinrong reminded him. Initially, he did this all for his sister, but now that it was all over, it didn't seem to be that important anymore. Those patients must be very anxious, Mo-san said helplessly. You should start preparing to make heart medicine available on the market. The medicine for cancer can wait. Mojinrong had already decided to do things openly, but he was being watched too closely and couldn't move easily. Yes, young master. About the design show, should we invite more people over to attract more outstanding talents? Mo-san thought that one Kicha might not be enough. What the Mo family needed was innovation. It's alright, Kicha alone is enough. I'll invite the Kin family and the Tan family over so they can take a good long look. Mojinrong was showing off. The Mo Corporation could invite people that no one could invite. Mo-san was just about to leave when he remembered something important. Young master, I've investigated the pen you asked me to check last time. It was sent from a small courier station in wrong city. I went to check the surveillance video, but the person was masked and wore glasses, so I couldn't see his face. I have pulled the surveillance video and sent it to your computer. Take a look to see if it's the same person. I don't know if Sheng Li changed after all these years, but I almost couldn't recognize him. Alright, you can leave first. He turned to the computer and saw a familiar back view. Even though he wore a cap to conceal his face, he could still remember that person because of their back. Chapter 325, Memories in His Mind. In the surveillance camera, the man had sent a package to the courier station and taken the package himself. Everything was so stable that there wasn't a trace of panic. Mo Junrong couldn't help wondering if this was still his uncle. He turned off his computer, his mind in a mess. Suddenly, he remembered what happened on the ship, and a horrifying scene flashed past. In his mind, Mo Junrong saw Mo Sheng Li carrying him to the deck amidst a violent storm. His uncle wanted to throw him down, but the ship was shaking badly, and someone was coming. He couldn't catch Mo Junrong and was thrown down instead. Mo Junrong felt a sharp pain in his head. This was a memory he had never had before. Was his memory messed up? Before he could figure out what was happening, the office door was pushed open. Mo Junrong, I don't understand what's so bad about me. If you were in my shoes, would I be inferior to Tan Shilin? Tan Si-wen barked in angrily in question. Miss Tan, haven't your parents taught you to be polite and knock on the door before coming in? Mo Junrong looked up in displeasure. Boss Mo, I can't stop Miss Tan. The front desk assistant caught up to them, panting. You can leave first. Mo Junrong waved his hand and said, Boss Mo, what do you mean? You're not very polite either. The most important thing in business is to keep your promises. Tan Shilin may be my uncle, but he is just a useless bum. My aunt helped him with everything. Aren't you afraid that if you replace me, this business will go bankrupt? Tan Si-wen spoke reluctantly. I said that this matter concerns the Tan family, so what does it have to do with me? It's just that I'm a married person, and you should know that. I don't want to create more trouble. If it doesn't work out, the Tan family can always find someone else to work with. Mo Junrong's indifferent attitude made Tan Si-wen even angrier. Boss Mo, Uncle said that you appointed him as the person in charge. I admit that I had feelings for you, but it wouldn't affect our cooperation. I have a bottom line. Do you think I would be a third party to seduce you? Tan Si-wen smiled disdainfully. Your uncle came to beg me about this, but I really don't care. If it doesn't work out, you can get your aunt to do it instead. I can accept it too. Send the guest out. Mo Junrong spoke easily and pressed the intercom. In less than 5 minutes, In less than 5 seconds, the people outside came in to drag Tan Si-wen away. Let go of me. Mo Junrong, you'll regret this. Tan Si-wen struggled and shouted. Mo Junrong didn't look up, and his office gradually fell silent as the shouting grew further and further away. He took out his phone and called Old Master Tan. Boss Mo, what can I trouble you with? Old Master Tan smiled. Your granddaughter ran into my office and shouted. I hope that Old Master Tan can take care of her when you're free. Also, I'm a businessman, and I don't want anything meaningless to happen between us. Hence, if there is no one in the Tan family that is up to the task, I don't mind sending someone over to supervise them. Although Tan Shilin was safer, his own abilities to handle matters was admirable. He was a businessman and couldn't let his business suffer. When Old Master Tan heard that this matter was serious, his expression changed and he apologized immediately. Boss Mo, it is my fault for failing to discipline her. Please forgive me. Don't worry, I will educate her well when I'm back. We will discuss the matter regarding the person in charge. We will be able to handle the Tan family's matter. Don't worry. I see. I hope you can keep your promise and won't annoy me again because of this. Mo Junrong hung up immediately, feeling a little tired. He hadn't seen Anna in a long time and missed her, so he called her directly. Where are you? Mo Junrong sounded tired. Anna didn't say that she was with Keecha. She just smiled. Why? Does Boss Mo miss me? Yes, I missed you. Mo Junrong admitted generously, shocking Anran. Keecha leaned over, pressed her ear against her phone, wanting to hear what was able to shock Anran. Do you want me to come over? Anran stammered like a little shyly. It's alright, it's getting late. It's not safe for you to come out. I'll send you to school tomorrow. Mojana suddenly had an idea and said. Anran's mind went blank. She could only nod and smile foolishly. Alright, bye. She hung up reluctantly and stared at her phone in a daze. You're shy. What did your man say to you? Keecha asked deliberately. It's nothing. It's getting late. I have to go back or Mom and Dad will be worried. Anran packed up her bag and was about to leave when Keecha smiled. Are you coming to see me tomorrow, young Madam Mo? Keecha! Anran carried her bag and ran out of the villa. Back at home, Anran was still flushed. Anran, where have you been the entire day? I've been worried. Ever since the last incident, Leo couldn't stop worrying about Anran. I went to a friend's house to play. Mom, don't worry. Anran smiled. You must have gone to some wild kid's house to fool around again, right? Zashumi cursed. Leo was about to argue when Anran smiled and stopped her. Grandma, I was afraid that all you could do was think about it. Your birthday is approaching. Have you thought about how to celebrate it? Zashumi smiled triumphantly. Ting-young, it's my birthday in a few days. It will be arranged according to the usual standards, and there will be at least 20 tables. I invite all of my old friends and your colleagues over. It'll be lively and bustling. The venue must be bigger, and it will be the best if it can encompass the entire restaurant. The dishes will be more expensive. I will be putting up a front for my birthday. It has always been like this. I believe this year will be no exception, right? Zashumi squinted at her son. In the past, Ting-young would fork over the money and invite many of her old colleagues to celebrate, so the gifts she received were naturally not little. The little regret that was her eldest son wasn't around this year and couldn't be filial to her. Zashumi was upset at the thought. Ting-young looked at old Mrs. Lan with a troubled expression. It was good enough that she wasn't chased out of the house, but he didn't have the money to hold up her birthday party. I don't have the money, but you are my mom, so I can't say much. It's alright if you want to hold a birthday party, but the scale will be smaller by 3/4 than last year's. We can find a random hotel and invite a few other people over for a meal. Mom, I told you, I'm very tight on cash, and don't have any excess money to hold a birthday party for you. Zashumi couldn't take it anymore. Thinking back at the austere appearance she once had, she was on television news and newspapers. Now she was going to celebrate her birthday in a random hotel. Wasn't he just being her functionary? Chapter 326, Planning the Birthday Party. Are you trying to bully me since I'm old and useless and your brother is in prison? How was it that the previous years will be how we'll do it this year? Don't talk about money or anything like that. I don't believe that you don't have any money for your birthday party. If you don't want to do it, just tell me directly that you don't want to do it. There's no need to find such a lousy hotel to patronize me. If you don't want to do it, we won't do it this year. Zashumi was deliberately provoking Ting-young. He was her son, so how could he not hold a birthday party for her? She thought about her son. She thought about how her son used to go along with her for her birthday, and she couldn't let herself suffer this year. Alright, since Mom says so, we won't have one. Ting-young's words made Zashumi furious. You wouldn't file a thing. Are you here to annoy me? Zashumi cursed. Ever since she married into the Lan family, there wasn't a single occasion that she hadn't celebrated her birthday. The sudden file thing didn't even want to throw her a birthday party. Mom, I told you, I'm really tight on cash. Why don't you understand me? Ting-young spoke. If your dad was here, he would be upset to see you treating me like this. Your brother was in prison, and you're the only son I can rely on. I didn't expect you to treat me like this. What sins did I commit to cause such an incident? Zashumi started to cry as she spoke. In the past, whenever she encountered such an incident, her son would immediately feel bad for her, and whenever she cried, he wouldn't be willing to voice out his grievances. Cry if you want. This month's pension is only 2,000 yuan. I won't give you any more than that. Tingyun was too lazy to coax his difficult old lady, so he turned around and went upstairs. You want to file a thing. Old master, open your eyes and have a look. What kind of life have I led here? Zhao Shumi was still yelling in the living room, but no one was paying attention to her. Li Yu and Yanran went upstairs together, ignoring Zhao Shumi in the living room. Mom, Yanran just sent a message saying that his itinerary is too tight, and that he won't be coming home for the next few days. He'll just stay in a nearby hotel. Yanran spoke nonchalantly. This child is getting busier and busier, Li Yu sighed. When Zhao Shumi saw that everyone had left, leaving her alone in the living room, she stopped crying. Damn it, this bunch of unfiled people. 2,000 yuan is peanuts to me. Zhao Shumi was unwilling and wanted to talk to Anran, that brat. But just as she reached the door, she heard her on the phone from inside. Tomorrow you will kill that old lady and disguise it as an accident. Anran looked at the footsteps that had stopped at her door and deliberately spoke loudly. Zhao Shumi was leaning against the door, listening. Her heart was beating rapidly, and she opened her mouth wide, wondering if that old lady was referring to her. Zhao Shumi, you're dead. Anran said the name of the old lady at the door. Zhao Shumi panicked and ran into her room in a hurry, packing up her things. She couldn't stay here any longer. She would lose her life. When there was no one around, Zhao Shumi carried a bag and ran into Xu Yanshan's home. Mom, it's already so late. Why are you here? Xu Yanshan was a little surprised when she opened the door. She looked at the panicky Zhao Shumi in horror, not knowing what happened. That brat wants to kill me. She wanted to kill me without anyone knowing. She's going to pretend that it was an accident. Fortunately, I heard her, or I would have died tomorrow. Zhao Shumi walked in panting. Xu Yanshan was skeptical when she saw that Zhao Shumi was being serious. What did you say? That brat dared to plan to kill you? Of course, I heard it with my own ears. She called someone in her room and said that she was going to get rid of me. This countryside girl is really bold. She might have really done something murderous. I don't dare to stay in any longer. Also, I was really furious today. Taeyong actually said that he would reduce the size of my banquet by 3/4, and then he decided not to hold it. He even said that he would give me only a pension of 2,000 yuan. This is outrageous. Zhao Shumi drank a large mouthful of mineral water as she spoke. Mom, Tingyun is still your son. I don't believe that he can only give you a pension of 2,000 yuan. It's okay if the banquet is reduced in size because, think about it, Anna and that brat is around. So if we expand the banquet, when the time comes, she might come up with some rotten idea that will ruin it. If we make a move, the more people that come, the more embarrassing it will be for us. That brat has so many wicked ideas. We were hoping to meet Mo Junhong at the banquet, because Yaxin is hoping that she'll successfully marry into a rich family. Xu Yanshan refused to give up. There were many people who couldn't get into the Mo family, even if they tried. In the past, they thought that there was a curse, so the house was cold and cheerless. Now that the truth was out, who knew how many people were trying to get in? In any case, I won't be going back. Tell Tingyun about the banquet. It's useless for me to say anything now. Zhao Shumi came back to her senses and carried her bag towards Yaxin's room. Grandma, why are you back? Yaxin looked at Zhao Shumi in surprise. She placed the bag down calmly and looked at Yaxin with a smile. It's nothing. Grandma misses you. I won't be able to eat well or live well there, so it won't be as comfortable as here. Zhao Shumi didn't tell Yaxin that she had just heard because she was afraid that it would affect the plan. Yaxin said that she was thinking of Zhao Shumi, but she was actually annoyed. The moment that the old lady came back, the room became foul, and there was no longer her princess room. Grandma, I have had a cold recently, and I don't want to infect you. Yaxin found an excuse to keep Zhao Shumi away from her. It's alright, I'm not scared. Zhao Shumi thought that her granddaughter was worried about her. She shook her head and smiled. Aren't you afraid? I'm afraid because you're too old and weak. When it comes down to it, I'll sleep on the sofa. Yaxin carried a pillow and blanket, wanting to leave. When Zhao Shumi saw that her granddaughter was moving out, she couldn't bear it and suggested that she move to the sofa to sleep. Although Yaxin was reluctant, she allowed her to do so. The moment she left, Tan Shi-lin called. Little girl, find me at the cafe next to your school tomorrow afternoon. I have something good for you. What? Didn't you say that you wanted to be the young lady of the Mo family from Mojurong? I can help you with this. Do you want to make the decision? Tan Shilin smiled. Chapter 327, The Tan Family Meeting. Yaxin answered without hesitation. Of course, Mojurong is mine. You do look like the young lady of the Mo family. Tan Shilin smiled and hung up. Li Shishi smiled. Dear, what's wrong with you? Tan Shilin stroked her nose bridge and smiled. Didn't you say that Anran bullied you? I'm here to avenge you. He picked up a bottle of yellow liquid that was on the table and looked at Li Shishi meaningfully. What is this? Li Shishi's big eyes were curious at the item in his hand. Tan Shilin carried Li Shishi's shoulders, opened the bottle cap and took a sip. I'll test the power of this medicine first. Are you ready? Tan Shilin smiled evilly, and Li Shishi suddenly had a bad feeling. Before she could react, she was pulling into the blanket. The voices in the room gradually grew louder. Suddenly, Tan Shilin's phone rang, and it was his wife. He glanced at the phone impatiently, threw it aside, and kissed Li Shishi. His phone kept ringing, and he was frustrated. Honey, accept it. Let's do something exciting. Li Shishi smiled, and Tan Shilin buried her head in the blanket. Tan Shilin's impatient tones changed, and he picked up the call with interest. Honey, what's wrong? A harsh voice came from the other side of the phone. You're asking me what's wrong? Where are you now? I'm working overtime in the office. Tan Shilin's tone was well behaved, but his expression gradually became exaggerated. Nonsense. Why don't I see you in the office? Hugh asked directly. Honey, I just left the company and just finished work a minute ago. I'll be going home soon, honey. Tan Shilin smiled. I should have been able to see you a minute ago. Where are you now? Don't you know that something happened at home? Your niece has gone to their company to cause a scene. Mojurong just called the old master, and now he is furious. He's yelling about teaching you and your niece a lesson. I don't care what you're doing. Get back here now. He wasn't listening to Hugh at all. Instead, he was enjoying the current situation. His expression gradually became exaggerated, and he couldn't help snorting a few times. But they were all turned into agreeing words. Yes, I understand. He immediately hung up and pulled Li Shishi out of the blanket. Little imp, sure know how to play. Speaking of which, the drug is really strong. Let me try it out now. Tan Shilin couldn't wait to push Li Shishi down. But didn't your wife tell you to? Who cares? Let's finish this quickly. Tan Shilin pulled the blanket over them and played an unspeakable game with Li Shishi in the room. After an hour, Tan Shilin ended the battle reluctantly. It's about time. I have to hurry back. I won't let you off next time. Tan Shilin looked at the beauty on the bed and wore his shirts reluctantly. Look at your pitiful appearance. Do you have the heart to let a beauty like me sleep alone? Li Shishi deliberately put on a sexy appearance, and Tan Shilin couldn't bear it. He pounced on her and kissed her a few more times before leaving in pain. Coward, don't forget my resources, Li Shishi shouted. At the Tan family, old Master Tan was pacing the living room anxiously. Where did Shilin go? Why isn't he back yet? Dad, don't be anxious. He should be back soon. This is the peak hour after work. He should be stuck in traffic. Hugh continued to explain. Don't explain for him. That trash must have run off to fool around again. Forget it. Let's not wait for him. Let's start the meeting now. Old Master Tan waited for more than an hour and couldn't wait any longer. He couldn't wait to talk about today. Grandpa, I couldn't take it and ran over to say a few words. Is there a need to call you? Tan Siwen was very dissatisfied. She lowered her head, not daring to look at old Master Tan's eyes. Nonsense. Who told you to go over? Didn't we say that you won't be working on this project? Why don't you leave some face with the Tan family? Isn't it the same regardless of who works on this project? Old Master Tan sat on the sofa, leaning on a walking stick as he glared at Tan Siwen angrily. That's different, Grandpa. Don't you know that Uncle... Shut up. It's not your place to gossip about your uncle. Don't think I don't know what you're thinking. You have your eyes on Mojurong and want to use this as an opportunity to seduce him. Mojurong is great, but he's married and you can't be his mistress. Doesn't the Tan family have any respect left? Old Master Tan knew his granddaughter well. After all, she was raised by him. Grandfather, I like him, but this has nothing to do with the project. Uncle must have slandered me in front of Mojang. If I hand this matter to Uncle, won't this project be done for? When has Uncle ever meddled with the company's matters? The company is either yours or mine. What can Uncle do? Tan Siwen wasn't convinced to let Tan Shilin be the one in charge. He didn't know anything. Even if he was her elder, he wasn't as outstanding as her. So why was he one level higher than her? Siwen, I know that you don't want your uncle to do this project, but we can't cause a seize in the company. We can discuss this together if anything happens. What if Mojang gets annoyed and he doesn't want to give us the project anymore? What are we going to do then? Hu persuaded earnestly. Siwen, you're not young anymore. You have to consider everything. Your uncle may not be very capable, but I'm just letting him train. He can't do anything. I know you're capable, so just let him be for a while. If it doesn't work out, we can replace him. You're a junior. Can't you just give in to him? Old Master Tan's attitude softened. Tan Siwen was about to retort when the doorbell rang. Shilin is back. Hurry and open the door. Old Master Tan spoke with disgust. Tan Shilin stood at the door, deliberately checking his clothes. He sniffed around to make sure he didn't smell like a woman, then straightened his tie and hair, standing upright at the door. The young housekeeper opened the door and invited Tan Shilin in. You still know how to come back? Old Master Tan was displeased. There was a traffic jam. Tan Shilin looked at everyone with a smile. A traffic jam can last for more than an hour? Old Master Tan didn't believe his nonsense. Chapter 328, Old Master Tan hospitalized. Dad, isn't he here now? Hu was still covering for him. Don't explain on his behalf. Do you know why I'm unwilling to hand the company over to you? You eat, drink, and play all day long, and don't care about the company at all. And you expect me to take fancy to you? If Mojang hadn't asked for you, do you think I would have made you the person in charge? Because of this, your niece went to cause a stir and embarrass the Tan family. You ate, drank, and didn't care about anything at all. How did I give birth to such a prodigal son? Old Master Tan scolded angrily. Tan Shilin could hear ridicule and contempt in his words. He was furious and said, I knew you looked down on me. That grandson of yours, Tan Lin, is very capable. Tell him to come back if he dares. I won't just give him the position. I'll give him everything in the Tan family. I knew you admired him. Although you didn't say anything, I could still tell that you really liked him. You might as well let him be the heir of the Tan family. What else do you want me to do? When Master Tan was so angry that he was about to have a heart attack. He held his chest and panted, pointing a trembling finger at Tan Shilin. You rascal, aren't you listening to me? I told you to come back for a meeting and waited for you for more than an hour. Have you not realized your mistake? Tan Shilin was like a frivolous prince now. He sat on a sofa with one leg crossed over the other and took out his phone and kept playing with it. Bastard, I told you to listen to me. Old Master Tan threw the walking stick in his hand with all of his might. Shilin, be careful. Hu rushed forward in a daze to shield him. The walking stick smashed into Hu's arm, causing it to turn purple. Dad, what are you doing? Hu protected Tan Shilin and exclaimed, You're spoiling him too much. Look at what he has become. He's just trash of the Tan family. This time, even if Mojang specifically asked for him, I won't let him be in charge. Even if his business is ruined and he doesn't want to continue, I won't let him succeed. I'll leave this for you from now on. The uninfiled son can't interfere again. Old Master Tan trembled with anger. Tan Shilin panicked and bolted upright, causing him to glare. Why? This was negotiated through my efforts. As expected, you still think I'm useless. You'll leave all this family matters to an outsider. You won't even know when your company becomes hers. Hu was a little confused. Although her family was poorer than the Tan family, she had been married into the family for years. How could she still be an outsider in his eyes? Shilin, what did you say? I'm an outsider? I've been married to you for so many years, but you still treat me like an outsider? I've done my best for the Tan family and treated this as my own home, but in your eyes, I'm still an outsider? She turned to look at the old man. Dad, don't think I don't know what you're thinking. Back then you chose Siwen and not Hu. Isn't it because she's been in the company all these years and has too much power that you allowed Siwen to share her power? In the end, you still despise her for being an outsider because her surname is Hu, not Tan. Tan Shilin was behaving like an unfiled son and wasn't afraid of the old master at all. You unfiled son, you're outrageous. Get out. Old Master Tan became even more agitated as he spoke, his voice turning hoarse. Tan Shilin turned around and was stopped by Hu. Wait a minute, what's that on you? The moment Tan Shilin turned around, Hu saw the hickey on his neck. What are you talking about? There's nothing. Tan Shilin didn't know what happened. He had changed into the same clothes he had left in and entered after confirming that there wasn't a single strand of her hair. So how might there be a flaw? Whose hickey is that on the back of your neck? That lipstick is obviously Chanel's brand. What have you been doing the past hour? Tan Shilin was a little nervous in the face of Hu's question. He didn't expect Li Shishi to secretly leave a mark on the back of his neck. Old Master Tan slapped Tan Shilin angrily and then blacked out and fell to the ground. Dad! Hu hurriedly sent Old Master to the hospital, ignoring Tan Shilin. Late at night, Anran sneaked into Mo Jinrong's office. According to the mysterious person's instruction, she had to get the items in the safe within 3 days. Today was the last day and she had to get it. She couldn't be blamed if there wasn't anything in the safe. She had secretly informed Mo Jinrong before, so there probably wasn't anything here. Anran went to the safe. The passcode in the safe was just made very complex compound code. She tried several times but couldn't unlock it. She couldn't ask Mo Jinrong about this, so she messaged the mysterious person. What's the password? In less than a minute, the mysterious person replied, You're his wife. How could you not know the passcode? It's Mo Ying's birthday and death anniversary. You know Mo Ying? Anran frowned. The person seemed to know everything about the Mo family. Cut the crap. Hurry up and get the things. The mysterious person's heartless reply made Anran even more determined. She opened the safe and took out a flashlight. This time she knew that the contents of the safe. Other than a few unimportant contacts, there wasn't any title deeds he wanted. It seemed that Mo Jinrong had indeed transferred the documents. Anran took a few photos and sent them to the mysterious person, telling him that there wasn't anything he wanted here, and that he could find another secret location. Suddenly the alarm rang outside. Anran didn't have time to react, so she closed the safe. It wasn't appropriate to take the elevator, so he had to walk down the stairs now. Damn it. Anran cursed as she ran down the stairs. There were dozens on the floor. If she ran like this, her legs would be ruined. The company security guard heard the alarm and took the elevator to the president's office. When he saw that Anran had escaped, he followed her down the stairs. Hurry down the stairs, the security guard shouted from behind. The thief in the president's office was no small matter. If things went wrong, they would even lose their jobs the next day. Hence they chased after the thief with all their might. Anran listened to the approaching footsteps and had no choice but to slide down the handrail as she could move faster. After the security guards could no longer catch up, she slowly walked down the stairs and left the company while there was no one around. Fatty, help me investigate what happened. Who triggered the alarm? Anran messaged Fatty after boarding the car. Boss, why can't you just walk out in the open? Isn't it normal for you to enter the young mistress of the Mo family? Fatty was puzzled. Chapter 329, The Luxury Car at the School Entrance. Who would enter and leave the company so late at night? Besides, I'm going to Mo Jinrong's safe, which contains confidential information. If I go there openly, you know who wouldn't believe me and might even raise unnecessary suspicions. Anran didn't want to create more trouble. In my opinion, this was done deliberately by the mysterious person. On one hand, he wanted to test your abilities, but on the other hand, he wanted to see if you had the title deed. He was afraid that the matter wouldn't be authentic, so he triggered the alarm. This is a good plan to kill two birds with one stone. Fatty's guess was reasonable. Let's end things here tonight. Mo Jinrong will definitely investigate tomorrow, so help me delete all the surveillance video in the company right now. Suddenly she received another message. Were you the one that tipped them off? Anran saw that it was the mysterious person and replied solemnly. If I'm the one who tipped them off, why don't you just tell them directly that someone was trying to steal his title deed? Why did you have to put on such a show? That better not be the case. Find out immediately where he placed the items in the safe. I'll give you 3 more days. If there's still no news after that, you know the consequences. What do you want the title deed for? If it was me, I would have taken the seal. Anne sent it over and didn't receive a reply for a long time. She only received the reply after driving home. Don't interfere with things you shouldn't know. Give me what I need in 3 days. Anne returned to her room and received Fatty's message. Boss, when you entered, an expert hacked into the internet. He was the one who triggered the alarm. This expert is extremely powerful. He isn't even in the hacker rankings. Fatty had never felt such a powerful opponent and was sweating. A powerful expert? Interesting. Anne seemed to be interested. She hurriedly checked the address in the text, but that person had long escaped and she was empty-handed. Looking at the clock on the wall, Anne yawned disinterestedly. It was getting late and she had class tomorrow, so she decided to give up on the chase. The next day, a Maybach was parked outside and a man in a white suit and gold-rimmed glasses alighted. His hair was combed neatly and there was a trace of heroic spirit in his eyes. He faced the door with his perfect profile and stared deeply at the person who came out. Jinrong, what are you doing here so early in the morning? Tingyong woke up early to go to work and found Mo Jinrong standing at the door looking very focused. It was a little strange. Dad, I'm waiting for Anne to go to school. We agreed yesterday that I would send her there. After what happened last time, I'm afraid that she won't be safe alone. Mo Jinrong adjusted his glasses and walked forward to speak politely. Tingyong nodded. I see. Anne will be out soon. Jinrong, as a man, you must protect my daughter. I won't bicker with you about the past. From now on, I will hand her over to you. If anything happens, I will get even with you. Jinrong! Anne and Liu stood at the door staring at Mo Jinrong. Mom, Anne. Liu eyed Mo Jinrong. Although she had something against her son-in-law, they were married after all, so she couldn't say anything. Drive slowly. Under the gaze of her parents, Anne got into Mo Jinrong's car. The two of them barely spoke on the way. You were there last night? Mo Jinrong spoke first. Yes, but we still have to put on a show and investigate what needs to be investigated. We can't let him suspect anything. Anne nodded, feeling a little nervous. This was her first official appearance with Mo Jinrong. I see. Mo Jinrong nodded, and the atmosphere fell into an awkward silence. Young master, young mistress, haven't you kissed? Why is it so awkward? Mo-san was a little embarrassed as he watched from the side and smiled. Mo Jinrong glanced at him sideways. He didn't speak, but his gaze had frozen him. Jinrong, I'm a student. Isn't it inappropriate for you to drive such a car at the school gate? Anne lowered her head, feeling a little embarrassed as she said this. Although she had admitted it to the public, it was still inappropriate. It's all right. We can show them. As Mo Jinrong spoke, they arrived at the school. A Maybach parked outside and a beautiful girl alighted, attracting the attention of the students. Many people crowded around the school entrance, taking their phones to take pictures. Isn't that Lan Anran? I heard that she's married to the Mo family. Is she here to flaunt her love? The Lan siblings are so famous. The young brother is a celebrity and the older sister isn't to be outdone, and she also got a luxurious car. What a blessing. Several students were chatting at the door. Mo Jinrong got out of the car and helped Anne with her hair. He gently tucked it behind her ear and spoke at the students at the door. She is my wife. From now, don't harbor any designs on her. If anyone believes her, they'll have to go against me, Mo Jinrong. Mo Jinrong was extremely magnetic, his voice sweet and pleasant to listen to. Isn't he too cool? Aren't they just like celebrities or characters from novels? Oh my goodness, how did I meet such a handsome man? The girls looked at her enviously. I'm going into school now, and you don't have to pick me up after school. I'll go back by myself. Anne carried a bag and walked towards the school under the gazes of everyone. After Mo Jinrong got into the car, Mo-san spoke softly. Yo, Master, I heard that old Master Tan was admitted to the hospital because of the project. Should we go take a look? Let's go. The Maybachs drove slowly out of the school towards the hospital. At school, Anne and Mo Jinrong's photos were spreading like wildfire on the forums. Many people commented and expressing their envy and jealousy. This is too cool. The two of them looked like a married couple when they stand together. They're a match made in heaven. Marrying into a rich family is really different. She has a husband to pick her up personally, and even her car is a Maybach. Jackson looked at the discussion forums about how compatible the two of them were and was a little unconvinced. She and Mo Jinrong would be more compatible. She opened a private account to express her dissatisfaction with Ayn Rand. Ayn Rand is here today to flaunt her wealth, right? She must have relied on seduction to get where she is today. Otherwise, how could Mo Jinrong have taken a liking to her? The moment the post was posted, someone ran over to refute the rumors. "You anti-fan, are you jealous of her? You're so sour." The number of people speaking up for Anna increased. Jackson was furious, and she placed her phone aside. She didn't want to read the comments attacking her at all. Chapter 330, Argument in the Hospital. Suddenly, her phone rang with the sound of a text. "Don't forget to look for me at the cafe today. Don't regret it." Tan Shilin didn't feel sad that his father was admitted to the hospital. Instead, he became carefree. In the other classroom, everyone cast envious looks at Ayn Rand. "Ayn Rand, you're so blessed. I heard that it isn't easy to live with a wealthy family. You are the first daughter-in-law I have seen to be loved by a wealthy family." Sun Hai was envious. "Of course, our Ayn Rand is well versed in all kinds of martial arts. She is both pretty and smart. Who wouldn't like her?" Yashimi smiled and said, "Don't tease me anymore." "He came over to see me on a whim today, so it won't happen again," Ayn Rand smiled. "Xiaolei, your family may not be comparable to the Mo family, but it can still be considered a wealthy family. I heard that your brother isn't married yet. Look at me." Sun Hai smiled a little embarrassed. "Don't have any designs on my brother. He has a strange temper, and women have been chasing him since he was a child. It's been so many years. But I don't see any scandals or girlfriends. I don't think he's interested in women." Xiaolei guessed. "That's a pity. I miss the marriage of a wealthy family." Sun Hai was extremely upset. "How can you say that about your brother? I can introduce some female friends to your brother so that he won't be a bachelor at such an old age." Ayn Rand smiled and said, "My brother is especially against arranged marriages and matchmaking. I heard that you recently hired a designer. Can you let her design some clothes for me? I haven't had any clothes to wear recently." Zhao Xiaolei looked at the clothes she had bought last month in disgust. It's already been past season and she's worn them twice. She didn't want to wear them again. "I'm afraid not. Her designs will cost hundreds of millions of yuan. If you're willing to pay, I can introduce her." Ayn Rand smiled and said, "Which designer would charge such an expensive fee?" Sun Hai was curious. "Qi Cha, an international designer, received the first place in the international competition and the gold award in the international design competition." Ayn Rand spoke casually. She had accompanied Qi Cha to get these awards, so it wasn't that big of a deal. "That's amazing. Then I won't be able to enjoy it. Why don't you introduce her to my brother? Then I can enjoy her services for free." Zhao Xiaolei smiled and said. Anna looked at her in surprise. If she really did so, the Zhao family would definitely surpass the Mo family in the fashion industry. In addition, she didn't wish for Qi Cha and Zhao Han to get together. After all, she had been carefully raising the pot of flowers and didn't want anyone to take it away. She would feel betrayed. She shook her head. "Don't even think about it. She doesn't care about marriage, so your brother will have to find someone else." Ayn Rand smiled and said, "That's a pity. I heard that the Mo family is holding a fashion show." "That's a pity. I heard that the Mo family is holding a fashion show, and they even invited our Zhao family." Zhao Xiaolei spoke casually. Ayn Rand almost forgot. She looked at her watch. Today's class wasn't important, and she immediately packed up to leave. "Where are you going?" "I'm not going to class. I have something to do and need to leave. Help me take a day off from my teacher." Ayn Rand was a little anxious as she said this. "Ayn Rand, wait for me." "I'm not going to class either. Sun Hai, help me apply for leave from school." Zhao Xiaolei hurriedly packed her things and reminded Sun Hai, "You can't take a day off like this. You need to apply for a day off." Before Sun Hai could finish her sentence, the two of them disappeared. "Where are you going?" Zhao Xiaolei shouted from behind. "Fashion show." Ayn Rand didn't go through the front door, but went around the back. "I'm going too." Xiaolei ran very quickly. She knew that there was a dog hole at the back and could allow a person to pass through. She had given it to her to skip all classes. You're going to the fashion show too? Anran ran out and looked at her in confusion. Let me see how ethereal this Ki-cha is. My brother is still single, so I have play matchmaker. Zhao Xiaolei smiled and said. At the hospital, when Mo Zhenrong arrived, he could hear the Tan family's loud exclamations in the ward as he walked along the corridor. Tan Xiling, how could you treat your father like this? Hu Hu asked. Honey, don't be angry. I didn't mean it. Tan Xiling's different attitude made Hu Hu even angrier. Tell me about that hickey on your neck. I've always believed you, but you found a woman outside? Who's that vixen? Hu Hu didn't have time to ask this question yesterday, so she would settle the score today. Well, vixen, I might have accidentally scraped my neck. Don't be unreasonable. Do you think I have to be grateful to you just because you have controlled the Tan family for so many years? You're just an outsider to my father. You're just helping him manage the company. Hu Hu didn't expect Tan Xiling to become such an ingrate. She couldn't believe it. You what? Your mission now is to take good care of Dad. The Mo family has a fashion show today, and I'm going to be there. I don't have time to listen to you nag here. Tan Xiling pushed Hu Hu aside and walked out. Boss Mo, why are you here? Tan Xiling was obviously surprised. I heard that old Master Tan was ill, so I came to take a look. Mo Zhenrong spoke softly. It's nothing serious. Just go back and watch the fashion show. Tan Xiling grabbed Mo Zhenrong's arm. Mo Zhenrong brushed the dust off his body as though his hands were very dirty. Sorry, I'm a clean freak and don't like others touching me. The fashion show won't start until 10 a.m. and it's currently only 8. There's no hurry. He walked towards the ward as he spoke and happened to bump into Tan Si-wen walking over with a thermos flask. Boss Mo, why are you here? There was a strange gleam in her eyes. Mo Zhenrong ignored her and went to see old Master Tan. How is old Master Tan? The doctor said that he is much better and has survived the critical period. He'll be under observation in the normal ward for the next 2 days. Boss Mo, I want to ask to you. Before Si-wen could finish her sentence, Mo Zhenrong spoke to Hu Hu. Boss Hu, old Master Tan is down. Who's in charge of this project? Before old Master fell ill, he asked me to take responsibility. I have to resign now. I don't want to do anything with the Tan family anymore. You can look for Tan Xiling or Si-wen. His heart was cold. She had worked for the Tan family for so many years and had regarded the Tan family as her home. She didn't expect it to be in vain. Why don't you leave it to me? The cold voice came from behind. They turned to see Tan Lin. You bastard, what are you doing here? Tan Xiling was furious. Uncle, don't be anxious. I'm here to see if old Master Tan is dead. Tan Lin's every word revealed his resentment. Chapter 331, Encounter. Brother, you can't do this. Even if Grandpa doesn't allow you to enter the house, you can't treat him like this, Tan Si-wen stood up and said. I didn't cause him to be hospitalized. I'm just here to see if he can fulfill my wish. Since no one in the Tan family can shoulder his responsibility, why don't you leave it to me? Tan Lin smiled. You're dreaming. I won't leave this business to you, even if it costs me my life. Tan Xiling seemed a little agitated. Wouldn't it be useless if this project was handed to you? Tan Lin smiled. He looked up at the old man lying on the hospital bed with a respirator attached to it. He thought about how cruel he was to him and how cruel he was to his mother. If he hadn't chased his mother out of the house and made her suffer such infamy, she wouldn't have died. All these years he's been praying that this old man would end up like his mother. Seeing him lying on the hospital bed still hadn't resolved his hatred. Brother, what are you trying to do? Tan Si-wen seemed to think that Tan Lin didn't come with good intentions. I told you. I just want to see if he's dead. Tan Lin looked at Mo Zhenrong as he spoke. Brother, why didn't you call me when there was such a good thing happening? Mo Zhenrong's frown eased as he spoke calmly. Aren't you here now? This is the Tan family's business. I can leave after confirming that the old master is all right. I don't want this to disrupt things. I can visit the Mo family's fashion show as a member of the Tan family. I won't trouble Uncle. Tan Lin smiled and left with Mo Zhenrong. Why do you want to cooperate with them? Tan Lin had been thinking about this question for several days and couldn't bring himself to ask. He had only come over today because of Old Master's illness, so he decided to ask the question now. The Mo family owed Old Master Tan a favor, and that's all. You don't have to worry. Mojang got into the car and said, "Alright, I was afraid that you would oppose me on purpose. After all, I would have a headache with an enemy like you. You can return your favor while I get my revenge, and I will get all the profits from this project. We won't be delayed." Tan Lin smiled and said, "Up to you. Don't even think about touching a piece of the Mo family's cake. However, if it's the Tan family's cake, I won't care," Mojang said calmly. "I heard that you hired an internationally renowned designer to host this fashion show. It's so showy that I want to take a look." Tan Lin wasn't interested in design, but since it was been blowing up, he had to watch the show. At the Mo Corporation, the fashion show was held in the company's hall. It was decorated with lanterns and colored banners, and tables were placed below the stage. A large screen was placed on the stage, and a red carpet was placed on the ground. This was Ki Cha's home ground. Ki Cha had come early to deliver the design's draft and clothes. She wanted to mix her design drafts and clothes into 100 designs, then let the guests choose the best one from 100 to show her ability. After sending the design drafts, Ki Cha walked around the company as she had nothing to do. When she went to the coffee machine to get herself a coffee, she met a man in a suit. Although he didn't have Mojang's appearance, he was still a handsome man. Ki Cha looked at him until her coffee started to burn her hand through the cup, but she didn't find it scalding. "Don't you find it hot?" Zhao Han smiled. Ki Cha then reacted, spilling her coffee all over the floor. She immediately felt a burning pain in her hand. "Ah, it's so hot." She was still blaming herself for being so infatuated. It was so embarrassing. Zhao Han hurriedly took a piece of tissue from the side to relieve the overflowing coffee. He then took some ice cubes and placed them on her hand, patiently applying it to the swollen hand. "There wasn't a pharmacy nearby, miss. Do you want me to buy some ointment for your burns?" Zhao Han smiled brightly like a little big boy. No, it's all right. I'm all right." Ki Cha waved her hand and smiled. Zhao Han immediately found her cute. She seemed a little different from the other women. If there was anyone else, they would have been howled, but this girl in front of him didn't cry, but pretended not to care. "Are you really all right?" Zhao Han was concerned and asked again. Ki Cha felt the warmth of his care and shook her head with a smile. "It's all right. Are you an employee of this company?" Zhao Han smiled. She must be a new employee to not know him. "I'm just an ordinary employee who works for others." Ki Cha eyed Zhao Han. Everything he wore was branded, and even his tie was Italian. If an ordinary employee could afford such expensive clothes, he must not be an ordinary employee. Ki Cha had thought about Zhao Han before and felt his identity was noble, even to the extent that he was the son of a wealthy family. "Just like me." Ki Cha smiled. She lowered her head and drank the coffee in her hand. She looked at her watch and suddenly her phone rang. "Cha, where are you? I'm here." It was Anran. When she arrived, she chose a branded dress from a random store so that she wouldn't embarrass the Mo family. She had just come out of the washroom after changing. "I'll be there. Wait for me." Ki Cha hung up the phone, put the coffee cup in her hand and smiled. "Sorry, I have something to do now. I'll make a move first." Zhao Han smiled and looked at his phone. It was a message from Zhao Xiaolei. "Brother, I'm here to see you downstairs." Lan Anran and Zhao Xiaolei walked through the VIP passage to the hall. There weren't many people in the hall now, so they found a random seat. Ki Cha came to the hall and looked around. When she saw Anran, she walked over with a smile. "Anran, this outfit is not bad. I picked it up casually. It's an honor to be praised by the great designer." Anran smiled and pulled Ki-cha over to sit down. Anan, is this the great designer you were referring to? She's so pretty. Zhao Xiaolei was stunned. Although the designer wasn't as charming as Anan, she had a gentle and generous appearance that made one want to get close to her. Chapter 332, number 63. Who is this? Ki-cha asked. She's my desk mate, Zhao Xiaolei. Her family is being invited by the Mo family's fashion show today. Anan smiled and said, What a cute little girl. I'm Ki-cha, the host for today. Ki-cha stretched out her hand and smiled. Junong hasn't arrived yet? Anan looked around. People started to enter one after another, but she didn't see Mo Junong. How would I know about your husband? There are too many people here. I'm going to go to the back to change my clothes. Ki-cha smiled and waved goodbye. At this moment, Qin Taiyan walked in with Qin Hao. They were solemn and weren't kind people. Miss Lan, long time no see. Qin Hao took the lead and shook hands. Although he was smiling, he didn't seem very kind. Old Master Qin is a distinguished guest. He should be seated in the front, Anan smiled and said. Boss Mo especially held a design conference. I wonder how he managed to invite the renowned designer Ki-cha. I'm very curious. Qin Hao smiled. Qin Taiyan had reported the matter to Qin Hao after failing the mission. He had always been upset about this because there wasn't anything he could do. It seemed that Ki-cha wasn't simple. Actually, some things can't be purchased with money, and not everyone likes things like money. Money is important, but there are things that are more important than money. Old Master Qin has been in the business world for so many years and is used to the method of benefits. He is good at calculating, but there are some things that can't be schemed against. Anan smiled and said, What are you talking about? Qin Hao was curious. Is there anyone in this world that doesn't like money? Just as he was about to investigate, Lin Jikong came over with a smile. Oh, Master Qin, it's been a long time since we last saw each other. How have you been? Qin Hao turned and saw Lin Jikong. His expression darkened. Recently, the Lin family has been trying to steal their business, causing the market to shrink. Hence, they didn't like the Lin Jikong. Boss Lin, thanks to you, I'm not leading a good life. I'm new to the country, so you can't bully me like this. Qin Hao's face darkened as he spoke angrily. Oh, Master Qin, look at what you're saying. We start a business, and the clients will choose whichever they think is better. What has that got to do with me? Isn't business a competition? You can't beat me, so that's what... You can't beat me, so what's the use in putting up a front here? Today is the Mo family's fashion show. If you can snatch Ki-cha, why are you worried about business? It's a pity that you don't have the ability. Recently, Lin Jikong has stolen the Qin family's limelight in business and was very proud of himself. He sat at the front, ignoring him. Qin Hao was so angry that he was at a loss for words. He could only sit beside him, several seats apart. Qin Taiyan, help me find out if Ki-cha has a boyfriend. If she doesn't, win her over as fast as possible. If she becomes the daughter-in-law of the Qin family, we do not have to worry about business anymore. Qin Hao had no choice but to do so. Dad, what are you saying? Qin Taiyan didn't want to get married for business. Cut it out. Qin Hao was willing to do anything for the sake of his business. Besides, Qin Taiyan wasn't young anymore. The daughter-in-law of the Qin family had to be well-matched in social standing. Only capable people are worthy of their son. Just then, Mo Junong strode in with Mo-san. Tan Lin followed behind while Anan smiled. I especially skipped class to visit you today. It seems like I sent you to school for nothing. Mo Junong caressed Anan's hair tenderly. Boss Mo, there are so many people here. You should pay attention to the occasion when displaying affection, Tan Lin reminded him enviously. Mr. Tan, please have a seat. Anan smiled and said. Suddenly, the large screen in front switched on. The design show was not open to the public. It was a design competition jointly held by the Mo Corporation and several other enterprises. The competition was to bring pictures and samples of the designers of the other companies to the venue to compete with Keecha. Winning like this would be the most honorable thing. Not only would it bring honor, but it would also bring many projects that would take initiative to invite them. Products would become popular before they even hit the market, and this is the best development direction. Even if they lost, as long as they could get into the top few, they would have a promising future. After all, it was understandable that they couldn't compare it to international brands. On the screen, several experienced judges from the design world were seated at the table, displaying more than 100 pieces of work to the audience. They would even be given a vote to choose the best one. Boss Mo, everything is capable. If Keecha loses, the situation will be ugly. Kin Hao smiled. His company had specifically hired an excellent designer who had won many awards in the country. For the design, he had specifically increased the salary of the design team, hoping that they could showcase their skills today. He was very confident about this. Janan didn't speak, but continued to stare at the design drafts. He didn't know much about design, but he had worked in the fashion industry for years, and he could see the design's fundamentals with one glance. After displaying all 100 designs, each one had a number ranging from 1 to 100. Mojinon carefully chose and voted for himself. Anna and Keecha had been together for so long, she could recognize the style of her work at a glance. At this moment, the screen was displaying all the voting records from 1 to 100. Numbers including number 63 and 87, as well as number 5's work, which were all ranked in the top 3. Boss Mo, do you think that your designer would be in one of these 3? Ninja Kong smiled and said. This time he didn't send in any designers. The Lin family's main business was in fashion design, so he was just here to watch the show and didn't intend to participate. I don't know. The boss's Lin's designers probably wouldn't be inside. Mojinon spoke indifferently. Zhao Han, who was by the side, had a crush on number 63. He could almost see the designer's thoughts. He smiled, waiting to announce the results. Brother, which one are you voting for? Zhao Shalei asked curiously. Seeing Zhao Han being so confident, she couldn't help but feel curious. Number 63. The design this time doesn't have a theme. On the surface, 63's work is an environmentalist, but its design is leaning towards the 4 season and the animal theme. You can see from the hem that it has a pattern that looks like a little peacock's feather. In addition, there are some rose petals embellished into pink lace, making it youthful, beautiful, but not vulgar. This represents a yearning for love. Also, aren't those exposed shoulders worn during the summer and spring? Zhao Han analyzed number 63's work in detail. Chapter 333, Design Intent. Zhao Shalei was stunned and she smiled. Brother, you're really something. When did you learn these things? I can just tell. It's really simple. Zhao Han's nonchalance was heard by Anran. She turned to look at Zhao Han and smiled lightly. 3 seconds later, the host of the design exhibition came up with a microphone. As everyone can see, the results are out. Are the works of Miss Keecha among these selected few? Let's start with 3rd place. Shown in 3rd place was the designer of the Tan family. There was a slight discussion below, but Tan Lin didn't care. Winning or losing had nothing to do with him. But he didn't expect the designer of the Tan family to be in the top 3 out of 100. The 3rd place is our Tan group. Congratulations, Mr. Tan. After the host finished speaking, Tan Lin didn't stand up to express his gratitude. He wasn't concerned about their ranking. Instead, he was more concerned about the 1st place. Next, let's see who comes in 2nd place. The name slowly appeared onto the screen. It was the Qin family's design plan. Qin Hao smiled slightly. It wasn't easy to get 1st and 2nd place. Fortunately, the design team didn't disappoint with the salary he gave them. He smiled triumphantly and said, "It's a bit embarrassing that we got second place. Usually we would get first, but today we were met with a strong opponent from the Moon Corporation." Boss Kin is too humble. It wasn't easy to get second place out of 100. Mojang spoke softly. His expression was calm, but he was nervous internally. "Congratulations, Boss Kin. You have gotten second place. Is the first place our star of the show? Let's wait and see. When the first place piece is revealed, there will be a surprise for everyone." The host smiled. The crowd started to discuss amongst themselves, worried that if it wasn't Keecha, the Moon Corporation's reputation would be ruined. "Now, let's reveal the first place." People were getting more and more excited as the name was being revealed. Moon Corporation's chief designer, Keecha. As expected, as someone who lives up to her name, internationally, designers are really different. It wasn't easy to stand out from so many people. The audience broke into applause and discussion. However, this was all in Ayn Rand's plan. Gold would shine no matter where it was. These excellent designs wouldn't conceal the light of gold. "Can you let us meet this great designer and share her design concepts? We are so very curious." Someone in the audience offered to meet Keecha. After all, the famous designer was well known in the country's design world. But they had never seen her before, and many were curious about her real appearance. Seems like everyone is curious. Next, let's enjoy the surprise. The host left after speaking. The stage lights changed and the music started. On the same side, a person wearing high heels and a long pink skirt with a slit appeared. The skirt was embellished with a circle of lace, and her long legs were vaguely visible. She wore light makeup, held a microphone, and stood in the middle of the stage with a smile. "Hello everyone, I am Keecha. I am very happy that my design was selected out of these 100 pieces. Although I have won many international awards, I am still nervous facing business presidents from all over the world. Many people are curious about my design concept. In fact, those who understand my design concept have researched my works should know that I have always preferred the style of nature. I like to incorporate the things of nature into our clothes, just like the dress that I'm wearing. It's made out of silk. There are flower petals attached to it and a belt. Doesn't it look like a beautiful flower?" Keecha stood in the middle of the stage, generously sharing the origins of the clothes she was wearing. In the audience, Zhao Han found the girl on stage familiar. Wasn't she the girl who knocked over the coffee just now? He didn't expect her to be Keecha. Zhao Han admired her. "In fact, my design philosophy is to coexist with nature. The design on stage originates from nature as well. The rose petals represent love. They are embellished onto the dress, and together with the artificial scene, it looks like a peacock feathers that are spread all over the chest. The peacock represents the phoenix, and all of us girls are delicate roses. Coupled with the white background of embroidery of the phoenix, it means that all of us can have pure love. Hence the design is called Phoenix Flower Dance." The audience applauded and exclaimed about Keecha's talent in design. Kid Hao was no longer smiling. He was filled with resentment. Why didn't he hire Keecha? He was also very curious about what Ayn Rand had said about not being able to buy things with money and why she agreed to work in the Moon Corporation. Later, the design will be made in limited pieces and released to the market, and every piece will have its own unique label. Thank you for your support. Keecha bowed to the audience, her bright smile illuminating Zhao Han's heart. Mojang stood up and looked at Qin Hao with pride. "Old Master Qin, I am sorry about your abilities." Qin Hao stood up, turned around, and walked out. Many people handed Keecha name cards as soon as she stepped off of stage. Even though they knew she had joined the Moon Corporation, they had to still pass her name cards to show their respect. "Ayn Rand, was my performance on stage alright?" Keecha held Ayn Rand's hand and asked, clearly nervous. In the past, she had faced judges, but now she was facing business CEOs. She had never seen such a scene. "You've been through so many international awards. Why are you afraid of these old men?" Ayn Rand smiled and said, You have no idea. These old men are much better than the judges. Their eyes can kill. I was so nervous just now, and those old men kept staring at me." When Keecha spoke, she seemed to be looking down, but she had been staring at the large lamp behind everyone. Although the strong light was piercing, it was better than those people looking at her as though she was their prey. "You know each other?" Mojang suddenly walked over with a questioning expression. Previously, he thought that Keecha would agree to his conditions because they were tempting, but now it seemed that that wasn't the case. "Of course, she's my best friend from abroad," Anran smiled and said. Mojang looked at her with a different expression. "Why are you looking at me like that?" Anran couldn't stand Mojang's gaze and wanted to pull Keecha elsewhere. Chapter 334, Shaking Off the Tail. "Wait a minute. Hello, Miss Keecha. Do you remember me?" Zhao Han came forward to greet them with a smile. "It's you. Why are you here too?" Keecha was obviously surprised. She had always thought that he was a rich second-generation heir, but she didn't expect him to be here at the design show. "This is my brother, Zhao Han." Zhao Xiaolei saw her brother that was looking at Keecha strangely and interrupted to introduce them. "What a coincidence!" Keecha smiled awkwardly. She had been looking at him in a daze and had spilled her coffee. Now she was meeting him again. Was this fate? "Miss Keecha, you look great today." Zhao Han didn't shy away from complimenting her as his gaze landed on her long legs. "Brother, what's wrong with you?" Zhao Xiaolei smiled. She would definitely tell her parents about it when she got home. The 1,000-year-old iron tree was blooming at this moment, it appeared. "Thank you. Boss Mo, since the design conference is basically over, I don't think there's a need for me to stay. Earlier, I said that the limited edition of the Phoenix Flower Dance will be released on the market, and that would be the first season's hot item. Hence, I have completed the mission for this season. Is there anything else I should do?" When Mojang looked at her previously, he had only said that she should complete the design in 3 months. Now that it seemed to have been completed ahead of time, if the design alone was made into a sample, it would definitely earn more than 3 months of profits in the Wrong City clothing market. This far exceeds his expectations. "Ms. Keecha, as the new design director our company has hired, since the first quarter's design is complete, I hope you can help me look after the newbies, that's all." Mojang thought about it and confirmed that there wasn't much work for her, so he could only let her help the newbies. "That simple? I can do that." Anran helped Keecha apply for a day off from Mojang, as she wanted to take Keecha for a walk in Wrong City. The two of them had been walking into the department store, wanting to choose to design a bag when Anran's phone rang. "If you have the time to shop here, why don't you think about how to get me the title deed?" After Anran read the text, she looked around with wide eyes. Someone was watching her. "You don't have to monitor me. Since I said I would do it for you, I will. I don't like being watched." The other party didn't reply, and Anran immediately sent a message to Fatty asking him to help her keep an eye out on the people around her. "Anran, is this bag prettier or the other one?" Keecha carried a bag in one hand and asked. Anran thought about it and smiled. "The one on the left." He turned vigilant after speaking and looked around. They would still have to walk to the streets, and he wouldn't hurt her for the time being. Soon, Keecha had finished shopping, and Anran decided to get rid of his spies. "Cha-Cha, do you remember when we went abroad, I took you racing? Do you want to experience it again?" Keecha nodded excitedly. Anran's car racing had won the international award, and her skills were exceptional. She was just worried that the laws in the country were different from those abroad. "Can we race on the main roads in the country?" "Are you stupid? Who wants to race on the main road? Let's go to the racing track." Anran drove towards the racing track with Keecha. On the way, she had been paying attention to whether there were cars following them. Sure enough, she saw one. Anran sped up slightly and drove in the direction with more people. Coincidentally, there was a car accident in front, which caused a little jam. So Anran changed lanes to get off the expressway, while the car behind was blocked. The two of them swaggered towards the racing track. Jackson went to school and went straight to the cafe. Class, you're a little late. Tan Shi Lin looked at Yaxin in her student clothes and was overjoyed. He wanted to touch her hand, but she quickly retracted her arm. Tell me, what do you want? Yaxin knew that Tan Shi Lin didn't have good intentions, but in order to get back at Ayn Rand, she could only endure it. Tan Shi Lin smiled and took out a small bottle of yellow liquid, stuffing it into Yaxin's hand. You are quite anxious. I'll give this to you as well. Use it well, and when you marry into a rich family, don't forget me. Yaxin looked at the yellow liquid carefully. There was no label or explanation. Although the liquid is yellow, it was clear. What is this? Like I said, it's something that can help you enter a rich family. Although it's a little yellow, it doesn't have a special taste. Find a chance and put it in Mo Zhengrong's food or Ayn Rand's food. The medicine will take effect soon and will cause hallucinations. After drinking it, you can make him do whatever you want. The first person he sees might be your enemy or your lover. You can handle that yourself. Tan Shi Lin smiled. Will someone die? Yaxin was still a student, and she was especially afraid of someone dying. I tested it myself, and it was very useful without any side effects. If you don't believe me, you can come to me for an experiment. I don't mind. Tan Shi Lin smiled evilly, and Yaxin felt disgusted. Don't worry, I will cooperate with you. You have to help me ask Mo Zhengrong out. I prefer a more direct approach than taking revenge on that brat. Yaxin wanted to become the young lady of the Mo family even more. Mo Zhengrong is a stubborn and inflexible person. If you really want money, you can consider me. You're not bad looking either. I can make you my lover, and I will feed you and clothe you with the money. I will give you whatever you want. Are you really not going to consider me? Tan Shi Lin smiled at Yaxin. He had never tasted such a female student. I just want to be the young lady of the Mo family. I don't want to consider the rest. After I defeat Ayn Rand, I will give her to you. Don't you want to have a taste of a beauty like hers? Yaxin smiled. Tan Shi Lin thought about it. Who would want to have a taste of Mo Zhengrong's woman? You're still young, but you're quite ruthless. She is your biological sister. Are you really willing? Sister? I have never treated her as my sister. I'm going to steal her husband. What else can I not bear? Yaxin placed a bag of medicine in her bag, preparing to give Mo Zhengrong when the opportunity arose. Back at home, Xu Yanqian was sobbing in the living room. Mom, what's wrong? Did that bat bully you again? Yaxin felt her heart ache when she saw her mother like this. No, your father was in court today and was sentenced to 2 years. How am I going to live for the next 2 years? Yaxin, you have to work hard and hurry. We won't even be able to eat in the next 2 days. Xu Yanqian hadn't had meat recently and had been eating cabbages. She had lost a lot of weight. Chapter 335, Secret. Yaxin, I want to see your father today. He couldn't eat well and couldn't sleep well. Every day he eats steamed buns and pickles. He has lost a lot of weight. How much will he suffer in the next 2 years? Yaxin, you must help your father vent his frustrations. Zhao Shumi was nagging as well. Looking at Tingyi's condition today, she couldn't help but feel her heart ache. In the past, when was he tortured like this at home? Grandma, Mom, don't worry, I have this. Yaxin took out the yellow medicine from her bag for them to see. The two of them wiped their tears and observed curiously. Zhao Shumi prepared to open it and smell it. Yaxin hurriedly stopped her, snatching it over to cover the bottle. Grandma, you can't open it casually. It'll make you hallucinate. Zhao Shumi was shocked. She had been a doctor for many years, and this kind of hallucination drug was prohibited. It could even cause death if used too much. She focused her gaze and asked, will it kill someone? I've been a doctor for many years and I've seen a lot of things. There are so many people in the hospital who died from consuming such things. Will it be alright? It's alright, Grandma. It will only let people hallucinate. When the time comes, I want to place it in Mo Zhengrong's water or food so that he can listen to me obediently. When he wakes up the next day, he won't remember anything. He is the president of a corporation. He will keep his word and will be responsible for me. When the time comes, he will definitely divorce Ayn Rand and marry me. Don't worry, I will definitely do well, and when the time comes, I will be pregnant with a baby. Even if old Mrs. Mo doesn't like me, it will still be her grandchildren. She can't just ignore them, right? Jackson had it all planned out. As long as she entered the Mo family and would be able to become a mother with the backing of her children, there was nothing old Mrs. Mo could say, even if she was unwilling. Won't you be embarrassed at all? Shu Yanshan wiped her tears and smiled again. It doesn't matter. If you want to accomplish something big, you can't be particular. Jackson, you're right. Just do what you want. Grandma supports you. The thought of Ayn Rand wanting to kill her made Zhao Shumi uncomfortable. She had lived more than half of her life and had never been bullied by a child like this. She had to take revenge. The way to take revenge was to chase her out of the Lan family and make her homeless. Even so, she couldn't completely vent her anger. Jackson, Mom wants to discuss something with you. It's going to be summer break and we're running out of food. Why don't you go out and work? This plan can't be completed in 1 or 2 days. We need to live too, you see. Shu Yanshan hugged her daughter like she was hugging a money tree and comforted her carefully. Mom, I still want to apply to the Research Institute. Even if they don't recruit students this year, there is still next year. I want to do some more research on medicine. So, Jackson, there's no need to rush in the Research Institute or anything. They won't recruit until next year anyway. You're so smart. You can still make it if you work hard enough. The 3 of us always have to eat. Your grandma is old and no one will hire her. My eyes aren't working well and my mouth is stupid, so I don't know how to talk. You're the only college student in the family. You are smart, beautiful, and kind. I'm begging you, Shu Yanshan pleaded. In fact, she was thinking about the summer vacation, which was hot and crowded. She was a pampered rich lady, and if she went to work, she would be laughed at by her friends. She couldn't let them see her in such a sorry state. Yanshan, you... Zhao Shumi couldn't say anything. Her daughter-in-law was good at everything, but she was too lazy. Jackson had nothing more to say, so she nodded in agreement, hoping to get a job from Tan Qilin when the time came. Ayn Rand and Ki Cha spent 3 to 4 hours racing in the racetrack. They ended their session reluctantly because Mo Zhenrong had called to ask her to go back. I didn't expect your driving skills to be so good after so long, Ki Cha praised excitedly. It's a pity that someone is missing you. You just left the house a few minutes ago, and yet he called. How annoying. And then raised the phone triumphantly and said, What's there to brag about? I'll find an old man for you. Ki Cha was a little jealous. Young Master Zhao was pretty good. The way he looks at you has changed, Ayn Rand teased. Zhao Han? What does his family do? Ki Cha asked curiously. No way. You really like him? Ayn Rand looked at her in surprise. I'm just curious. He's good looking, but he's not my type. For some reason, Ki Cha felt guilty when she said that. You like old men, right? His father is single. Why don't I introduce you to him? Ayn Rand smiled and said, Ayn Rand, you really are my good friend. Ki Cha and Ayn Rand chased after each other and got into the car to go home. Suddenly, Fatty sent a message. Mo Zhenrong secretly shipped a batch of goods from the Wrong City Research Institute. How did you find out? Ayn Rand lowered her head and replied, while Ki Cha secretly peeked over. You accepted a mission? No, let's go. Ayn Rand saw the reply from Fatty, but before she could fully see what it was, she hurriedly put her phone away and started the car. She sent Ki Cha back to the villa and went to the company. Boss, no, it's only been a little while since we last met. Did you miss me that much? Ayn Rand pushed open the office door and spoke in a charming voice. Young madam, I'm still here. Mo Zhenrong covered his eyes shyly and spoke. You... get out, Mo Zhenrong ordered coldly. Young master... all right. Mo Zhenrong lowered his head and laughed. Miss Lan, you must have forgotten about me after playing for so long. Mo Zhenrong stood up and tucked Ayn Rand's hair behind her ear with a smile. You will always be first in my heart. Ayn Rand started to speak beautifully. Let me ask you, when did you meet her? Why didn't you tell me? Mo Zhenrong suddenly pulled her into his arms, hugging her tightly. I was studying abroad for a period of time and happened to bump into Ki Cha renting a house. We hit it off and became roommates and good friends. During that period, we relied on each other. As for why I didn't tell you, it's because you didn't ask me. Ayn Rand quibbled. Do you have any secrets you haven't told me? Mojang lowered his head and looked at the person in his arms. Tell me first. Are you hiding anything from me? Ayn Rand asked. She actually wanted him to take the initiative to admit his concealed identity. She wanted to know the reason. Mojang didn't even blink, his expression calm. No. Are you sure? Ayn Rand asked again. Mojang gradually released her. I'm not hiding anything from you. You can look into it yourself if you don't believe me. You are, Ayn Rand probed. Mojang's heart tightened. Does she really know my identity? He looked at the woman in front of him in a secretive manner. What secrets am I hiding from you? Where are the things from the safe? Ayn Rand asked directly. Mojang turned to look at the safe. He had found out that things in the safe were going to be stolen in the past few days, and unfortunately, he had moved it away beforehand. You can find it yourself if you want to know. I asked people in the company to put on a show. The news of the things in the safe being stolen has already spread in the company. Wouldn't it be meaningless if I told you? Mojang revealed a rare smile. Chapter 336. Adam is not an outsider. Alright, I'll find out myself. Ayn Rand sat down directly and crossed her legs. Miss Lan, are you staying? Mojang suddenly leaned over, supporting himself with one hand on the sofa, as he wrapped Ayn Rand in his arms. I've sent Ki Cha back. She is my friend and only came because of me. You're not allowed to bully her, Ayn Rand reminded him. Honey, I will obey the Imperial edict. Are you going to give me a reward? Mojang's gaze gradually moved down Ayn Rand's face. Ayn Rand suddenly hugged Mojang's waist and moved her head upwards, their lips touching. Young master! Oh God, I didn't see anything. Mo-san suddenly barged in, covered his eyes, and left with a shy expression. Ayn Rand and Mojang were embarrassed to continue to kiss. Didn't I tell you to go out? Mojang looked impatient and his tone was icy cold. Miss Tan, you can't go in! Miss Tan! Mo-san tried to stop her but couldn't. The door was suddenly pushed open. Tan Si-wen looked at the two of them on the sofa with a jealous expression. Oh, Miss Lan and Boss Mo like to do such exciting things? Miss Tan, it seems rude to barge in without permission. Is this how the Tan family rules? Ayn Rand said, hugging Mojang tightly. Boss Mo, I'm here today to sign the contract on the behalf of the Tan family. I brought the contract over. Tan Si-wen placed the contract in front of Mojang. Then sign it now. It's all right. Ayn Rand looked at Tan Si-wen's hostile eyes. In order to annoy Tan Si-wen, she deliberately kissed Mojang's face. Mojang didn't resist, but smiled instead. Boss Mo, we have some details to discuss on the project. This involves confidential information, and outsiders can't be present. Who will be responsible if the information is leaked? Tan Si-wen's tone was heavy with jealousy. She looked at Ayn Rand, wishing that she could throw her out. My wife is not an outsider. She is the young lady of the Mo family. We can talk here. Mojang turned and hugged Ayn Rand, sitting on the chair with her as though he was carrying a baby. Boss Mo, this project is very important. Hugging Miss Lan like this, I suspect the extent of your care for this project. I am a serious person, and I don't want you to be multitasking when discussing business. Tan Si-wen grew angrier as she watched. Is Miss Tan in a hurry? Ayn Rand asked innocently. Yes, I want to start the project immediately. Now that Grandpa is ill and Uncle's side is in a mess, I am the only one who can take over. I'm the only one who can take responsibility for this matter. Tan Si-wen was displeased. If you were really anxious, you wouldn't be here wasting your breath. You can come here tomorrow because I might not be around tomorrow. Ayn Rand leaned into Mojang's arms even more. Tan Si-wen was speechless with anger. She wasn't in a hurry. She just wanted to use this incident to find Mojang. Miss Tan, if there's nothing else, leave the contract here. I'll get a lawyer to look at it and we can sign it another day. There is no hurry. Please leave now. I want to have a good talk with my wife. Mojang didn't hold back at all. He stroked Ayn Rand's chin, his eyes full of love. Boss Mo, I hope you will pay more attention. I didn't know that you had become such a womanizer. Tan Siwen couldn't help but say this. Miss Tan, you are being too nosy. I am not a womanizer. I just like my wife. If you don't want to cooperate, I'll get someone to cancel the contract. Anyway, the Mo family and the Tan family will cooperate in the future, so we will be able to repay the favor. Mo Zhengrong looked at Mo San, signaling for him to bring Tan Siwen out. Miss Tan, please. Tan Siwen was extremely jealous of Ayn Rand. She snorted and turned to leave in her high heels. Mo San sensibly closed the door, leaving the two of them in the room. She likes you after all. Don't you feel bad chasing her away? Ayn Rand asked deliberately. The Mo family still owes the Tan family a favor, but there's no hurry. As for my heartache, it's only for you. Mo Zhengrong whispered in Ayn Rand's ear. What a gilded tongue. Why does the Mo family owe the Tan family? Ayn Rand had always been curious. In her past life, she had been focused on revenge and hadn't paid attention to these matters. Back then, when the Mo family ran into a problem in their business, we thought that we wouldn't be able to make it. It was the Tan family that lent a hand, and later on, the Mo family hadn't returned the favor yet, and today, we are collaborating to repay the favor. Mo Zhengrong explained unhurriedly. Ayn Rand was glad that they didn't arrange a marriage between the two families. Otherwise, she wouldn't be his wife today. You can repay the favor, but if I find out that you have a personal relationship with that woman, Mo Zhengrong, you're dead, Ayn Rand warned. We might even... Don't you dare! Ayn Rand pointed at him warningly, looking a little angry. I wouldn't dare. Also, ask Zero, can I only seek treatment from her once? Mo Zhengrong lowered his head and asked. Ayn Rand was taken aback. You can seek treatment from her again, but she said that she wants 6 billion. Mo Zhengrong nodded without hesitation. He had already defined Zero as a money grubber. Aren't you better now? Ayn Rand was puzzled. Like he had a relapse last time. He didn't relapse when he was hugging her. Yes, but I still have some unresolved issues. I might have forgotten something because of Uncle's incident, and I want to get the memory back. Mo Zhengrong's mind was filled with fragments of memories from the ship. He could only remember one thing, not of others. Zhengrong, I think your uncle might be planning something. This plan has been planned for many years. He is someone even more terrifying than Mo Chang-wen, Ayn Rand guessed. She originally thought that everything would end after getting rid of Mo Chang-wen, but she didn't expect an even bigger opponent to appear. Mo Chang-wen might even be the tip of the iceberg. Yes, I want to see him. Perhaps he knows something. Mo Zhengrong suddenly became serious. Recalling the package and the horrifying memories, Mo Zhengrong was increasingly anxious to know the answer. I'll go with you and visit my uncle, Lan Tingyi at the same time. I wonder if he's doing well inside. Ayn Rand smiled and said. Chapter 337, Visit. At the Rong City prison, Mo Chang-wen had slimmed down and wasn't in good condition. He was exhausted and wore an orange prison uniform, looking lifeless. You're here to make a fool of me. You haven't appeared since I came in. Did you have a sudden thought and want to mock me? Mo Chang-wen's eyelids drooped, and he glanced at Mo Zhengrong inadvertently. I don't have time to mock you. You planned so many things in the Mo family. Didn't you think that this would happen? Mo Zhengrong spoke unhurriedly, speaking to him like a host. I killed so many people just to get your position. I didn't expect to fail. If you want to mock me, go ahead. Mo Chang-wen was completely disheartened. He couldn't do anything. I told you, I don't have time to mock you. How much do you know about Mo Shengli? Mo Zhengrong was extremely anxious to know the answer. Mo Shengli? I haven't heard this name in many years. Isn't he long dead? Why did you mention a dead person? Actually, he is like me. He only wants to win, but has only never succeeded. He died before me. In the past, I could tell what was on his mind, but unfortunately, he was gone before I could explain. He is much more pitiful than me. When Mo Chang-wen mentioned Mo Shengli, he was a little glad that he wasn't like him. What if I say that he isn't dead? Are you sure you don't know anything about him? Mo Zhengrong stared at Mo Chang-wen intently. What did you say? He didn't die? How could he not have died? Back then, the wind and waves were huge. Everyone was fine except for him. It was in the middle of the ocean. Even if the sharks didn't eat him, he would have drowned in the deep sea. It's impossible for him to still be alive. Mo Chang-wen kept refuting his theory, which was actually refuting his own thoughts. If Mo Shang-li didn't die, he would have been the most pitiful one. I don't want you to hide anything from him. You are the same generation as him. Even if he is the Mo family's illegitimate son, the two of you didn't get along well. But you grew up together. I know you still know him. Saying it now would only be equivalent to saving your mother. Ayn Rand started her psychological attack. Oh right, your wife seems to be having an affair. A few days ago, I saw her holding hands with a man at the shopping mall. The two of them were hugging in public, and Aunt was carrying many branded bags and clothes. She seemed very happy. I didn't want to tell Uncle, but I think you have the right to know. Ayn Rand spoke with deliberate sadness. Nonsense. Yan Shan didn't do such a thing. Don't lie to me. Tingy was agitated, unwilling to believe that his wife had become such a person when he was in trouble. Uncle, I'm telling the truth. Think about it. You're a reformer now. You'll be in jail for more than 2 years, and she is so lonely. Aunt is such a materialistic person. She hasn't bought any bags or clothes in such a long time after getting married to you, right? Aunt was a lady from a wealthy family. How could she endure such poverty? Yaxon wasn't willing, but she had no choice. She had already called him Dad, and the family of the three were harmonious. Grandma found it embarrassing and didn't tell you about it. Uncle, you can reflect on your mistakes and work hard to get out soon. Perhaps by the time you come out, Aunt will be pregnant with a second child, and you can be a father again. Ayn Rand stood up to leave. I don't believe you. Nonsense. Where's the evidence? I want evidence. Although Tingy didn't believe her, he was already suspicious. He had been to jail twice and was extremely poor. Which woman would be willing to follow him? I'll take pictures of it next time I see it. I was too nervous last time. If you don't believe me, you'll know when you come out, right? Ayn Rand spoke as though it was real, and Tingy had already been half convinced. After Ayn Rand left, she slammed the glass with all his might. You wicked woman! After he roared, Mo Junrong threw out a sentence. Would she be more wicked than you? Prepare to be jailed for the rest of your life. Tingy suddenly quieted down, leaving only regretful tears. Now he really had nothing. Outside the prison, Ayn Rand was in a good mood. Every breath she took was sweet. Were your words true? Mo Junrong leaned against the car and asked skeptically. Chapter 338, A Way to Make Money. Of course not, or I would have taken a photo for him. I'm just saying this to make him upset. I'll be happy if he's upset. Ayn Rand had never felt so good before. Can I ask why you hate him so much? Mo Junrong felt that Ayn Rand must have a reason for doing this. Seeing her hate the person in front of her, he suddenly saw himself. When Mo Ying died, he used to hate himself in the same way. Why didn't he die in her place? Ayn Rand turned to look at him. She didn't know how to explain her past life. If he knew how they treated her in the past life, he would probably understand why she became like this today. If you understand what he did in the past, you will understand what I've done today. I was sent to the countryside when I was a child. Back then, their family kept saying that I was a bad omen. Since I was a child, I had no home to return to, and had lived a vagrant life for more than 10 years. If you were me, wouldn't you hate them? Ayn Rand turned to get into the car before speaking. This wasn't the only thing she hated about him. In her past life, he had harmed her parents. His daughter has hurt her, and he has harmed everyone in the Mo family. She remembered every detail. Today was just a small punishment, and the real punishment was yet to come. Get in! Ayn Rand honked at Mo Junrong. Mo Chang-wen had no idea about Mo Shang-li. He's in the dark while we're in the light. You have to be careful, Mo Junrong reminded her. You should be careful. He won't hurt me, but he will definitely hurt you. If Mo Shang-li wants the Mo Corporation, he will definitely have developed a large organization and made a plan for many years. You'll have to face a lot more than me. Ayn Rand smiled and said, Mo Shang-li might need her help. So she was safe for the time being. It's noon, let's go get something to eat. Anna's stomach suddenly growled with hunger. I know of a restaurant that just opened that tastes good, so I'm going there. Mojang drove. You haven't even asked if I want some. Anna was dissatisfied. Do you want some? Yes. Mojang suddenly asked, and Anna didn't know how to reply, so she could only reply with yes. Is this what a tyrannical president is? Mom, if I become a celebrity, we'll be rich. I heard that celebrities can earn a lot of money. We can't even afford to eat or drink now, let alone bring honor to the Lan family. Yaxin lowered her head. Xu Yanshan thought about it and agreed. They were running out of rice, and she didn't have any cash on hand. She could only rely on old Mrs. Lance's pension to survive. This couldn't go on. She thought of an idea. Daughter, I have a good idea. We can earn a lot of money without leaving the house or going to work. What is it? Yaxin was curious. Isn't Yanran a big star now? We can use his popularity to earn money. Think about it. If we open an account to specifically answer questions about Yanran's private life, there will definitely be many fans who will care and be curious. I often see say-song fans and fans that pick up and chase celebrities at airports. They can't be bothered, but it's a good opportunity for us to earn money. Questions about his life would be 10 yuan per question and 50 yuan for those that are a little more private. That way we can have a few hundred yuan in income in one day. Wouldn't it be more cost-effective than being a celebrity? Xu Yanshan was very bright and her thoughts were biased, but this was indeed a quick way to earn money. That's a good idea. It's not illegal, but it can earn you lots of money. Yaxin's eyes lit up. She was Yanran's cousin. If this went on, his popularity would definitely soar. But she smiled and closed her mouth again. There was one problem she was worried about. Mom, this is good if we have lots of questions, but what if we don't have any more? There would always be an end to questions. When there was no more questions, everyone would be bored. You can change after that. You can spin some stories for them. Anyway, those fans are brainless and very silly. Otherwise, they would not like that rascal. They're all bewitched by his beauty. A bunch of idiots who will pay if they're sold. Xu Yanshan smiled and said, Mom, you're so smart. I'll open a new account now and wait to earn money. Yaxin couldn't wait to register a new account online, prepared to know her account. Lan Yanran's cousin. Xu Yanshan was a little worried and was specifically put a label beside her note. We answer all questions, DM for the price. Due to Yanran's tag, many people clicked on it curiously, and their account instantly increased with tens of thousands of followers. Someone immediately asked, does Yanran have a girlfriend? Xu Yanshan glanced at the question and felt that it was a private question, so she offered a price of 50 yuan. She didn't reply until the other party sent her the money. Look, it's so easy to earn money. Xu Yanshan looked at the 50 yuan in her balance and was grinning ear to ear. Chapter 339, Pharmacy Expert. However, there were also fans that doubted whether she was a liar. After all, no one could explain what happened online. Yaxin immediately posted photos of her and Yanran in the past, complimenting herself while she was at it. The netizens who commented immediately praised her. Goddess, what kind of godly looks are these? The family is so beautiful. Lan Yanran looks just like his sister. Yaxin is grinning ear for ear as she read the comments. Because of this photo, Yaxin's business gradually improved. The fans asked for any questions enthusiastically. As business became more and more booming, the questions became more and more private. Yaxin fabricated nonsense without knowing anything. After all, she and Yanran are at odds, and his reputation had nothing to do with her. When the female fans who received the news saw Yanran's sister reply, they instantly declared that they were no longer his fans. They also posted long posts complaining that Yanran wasn't worthy to be their idol. Coincidentally, Yanran had just finished recording his show when he saw the news online. Wang King happened to call and was probably referring to this. Lan Yanran, what are you doing? You just became famous and yet you're wasting your connections like this? How poor is your family? Wang King's voice was so loud that it almost broke Yanran's eardrums. Sis Wang, I just got off the show and just saw the news. I really don't know what happened. You don't know? Which sister is this again? She posted the photos. Do you have any ideas how much this affects you? Your sister is annoying. Your sister is answering nonsense to people online. Wang King was furious. His image, which had finally become popular, crumbled just because of a few questions. It was the equivalent of wasting everything he had done in the past. Yanran was confused. He didn't know what happened and was focused on begging for mercy. Sis Wang, I really don't know. Send out an explanation first. I'll handle the rest. Wang King hung up angrily. Yanran immediately went to the hot topic list, and the fans' post and Yaxin's account were both at the top. He saw the photo immediately. It was a photo of him forced by old Mrs. Lan to attend her birthday party before Yanran came. Although he was smiling in the photo, it could be seen as a bitter smile. He immediately called Yaxin's number, but the call didn't go through. Yanran immediately sent out a clarification statement, clarifying that his relationship with the person in the photo and denying the answers to those questions. But now explanations were useless. Many fans had left because of Yanran's weird sister. They felt that it was using their favorability and using them for benefits. They felt that their idol shouldn't be like this. At the same time, Wang King quickly sent out a lawyer's letter and gave an explanation, temporarily stabilizing the situation. However, there was still a small number of fans that believed Lan Yanran. They felt that it had nothing to do with him. This was a spontaneous action by the biological family and wasn't something Yanran could control, so they were still on his side. At the Mo family, Young Master, the Research Institute sent news that the talents they recruited last time weren't enough. They still want Miss Lan. After all, Miss Lan's ability is obvious to all. Mo-san smiled. Everyone knew Yanran's ability. Even if the Research Institute couldn't recruit her, the hospitals outside would fight for her. Mo Jinrong frowned. Now that the laboratory had stopped operations, Yanran could indeed enter and might even reopen one day. He thought for a moment and raised his eyes. When are they going to recruit more people? Jinlin is in need of people this summer. I heard that the medical research team has developed a cure for cancer. The Research Institute is anxious to verify this conclusion, so they need an expert. This was news Mo-san received this morning. Jinlin had specifically called him to inform him. Investigate the research team. Now that the laboratory isn't open, there shouldn't be a problem for Yanran to enter. Keep the experimental data properly and don't let her find out, Mo Jinrong said. Suddenly, Mo Jinrong's phone rang. It was an anonymous call. The moment he picked up the call, he was stunned. Jinrong, long time no see. His memories returned to more than 10 years ago. It was his uncle's voice. Uncle, you... It's been so many years, I didn't expect you to recognize me so quickly. Are you curious about all of this? Don't worry, there will be an answer soon. The voice was calm and heavy with a hint of vicissitude. Mo Shangli smiled in front of the phone, seemingly without ill intentions. Is that really you? What exactly happened to you back then? Why did you call only now? Mo Jinrong had a lot of questions he wanted to know the answers to, but Mo Shangli wouldn't let him have his way. I said that everything will have an answer. I'm calling you now to tell you that I'm still alive. I'll meet at my stepmother's place in 3 days. Mo Shangli hung up the phone quickly, but Mo Jinrong didn't have time to locate him. What happened, young master? We were all on the ship, and he didn't die after jumping into the sea. Is he an imposter? Mo-san couldn't believe that Mo Shangli was still alive. He had been careful all these years, and this time his instincts told him to be very careful. No, if he wants to hide, then he can change his voice too. There's no need to copy him. This time he used his original voice to say that he wants to tell us the truth. Mo Jinrong guessed that Mo Shangli must have had a purpose in coming back. Mo-san, check the number and see if you can find the owner. Young master, it isn't just this unfamiliar number today. There's news of the Qin family again. Recently, they have hired a cosmetics expert. I heard that he is good at making medicine and has snatched up more than half of our cosmetics market. Mosan could sense that the Mo family was facing both internal and external troubles. He was worried about more than one thing. What's his name? In all his years of business world, Mojano had never heard of anyone developing medicine, makeup, or the originator of this in the cosmetics industry. Chao Shen, I've investigated. He is Wrong City's University's anatomy teacher. He isn't old, but I heard that the Qin family is treating him well. I brought this information. Young master, take a look. Because of the makeup he developed, our cosmetics market is going to suffer this month. Mosan placed the documents gently on the table. Mojang opened it and looked at it carefully, his eyes lighting up when he saw the information. Why didn't we discover such a talent earlier? Mojang found the resume regretful. He was a senior pharmacist and has his own laboratory abroad before. He had also cultivated a world-renowned experimental agent for viruses, which more than half consisted of Chinese medicine. Now he has applied for a patient, and it turned out to be him. Qin Hao lived up to his name. He was actually able to invite him over. Chapter 339, Pharmacy Expert. However, there were also fans that doubted whether she was a liar. After all, no one could explain what happened online. Yaxin immediately posted photos of her and Yanran in the past, complimenting herself while she was at it. The netizens who commented immediately praised her. Goddess, what kind of godly looks are these? The family is so beautiful. Lan Yanran looks just like his sister. Yaxin is grinning ear for ear as she read the comments. Because of this photo, Yaxin's business gradually improved. The fans asked many questions enthusiastically. As business became more and more booming, the questions became more and more private. Yaxin fabricated nonsense without knowing anything. After all, she and Yanran are at odds, and his reputation had nothing to do with her. When the female fans who received the news saw Yanran's sister reply, they instantly declared that they were no longer his fans. They also posted long posts complaining that Yanran wasn't worthy to be their idol. Coincidentally, Yanran had just finished recording his show when he saw the news online. Wang King happened to call and was probably referring to this. Lan Yanran, what are you doing? You just became famous and yet you're wasting your connections like this? How poor is your family? Wang King's voice was so loud that it almost broke Yanran's eardrums. Sis Wang, I just got off the show and just saw the news. I really don't know what happened. You don't know? Which sister is this again? She posted the photos. Do you have any ideas how much this affects you? Answering nonsense to people online. Wang King was furious. His image, which had finally become popular, crumbled just because of a few questions. It was the equivalent of wasting everything he had done in the past. Yanran was confused. He didn't know what happened and was focused on begging for mercy. Sis Wang, I really don't know. Send out an explanation first. I'll handle the rest. Wang King hung up angrily. Yanran immediately went to the hot topic list, and the fans' post and Yaxin's account were both at the top. He saw the photo immediately. It was a photo of him forced by old Mrs. Lan to attend her birthday party before Yanran came. Although he was smiling in the photo, it could be seen as a bitter smile. He immediately called Yaxin's number, but the call didn't go through. Yanran immediately sent out a clarification statement, clarifying that his relationship with the person in the photo and denying the answers to those questions. But now explanations were useless. Many fans had left because of Yanran's weird sister. They felt that it was using their favorability and using them for benefits. They felt that their idol shouldn't be like this. At the same time, Wang King quickly sent out a lawyer's letter and gave an explanation, temporarily stabilizing the situation. However, there was still a small number of fans that believed Lan Yanran. They felt that it had nothing to do with him. This was a spontaneous action by the biological family and wasn't something Yanran could control, so they were still on his side. At the Mo family. Young Master, the Research Institute sent news that the talents they recruited last time weren't enough. They still want Miss Lan. After all, Miss Lan's ability is obvious to all. Mo-san smiled. Everyone knew Yanran's ability. Even if the Research Institute couldn't recruit her, the hospitals outside would fight for her. Mojang frowned. Now that the laboratory had stopped operations, Yanran could indeed enter and might even reopen one day. He thought for a moment and raised his eyes. When are they going to recruit more people? Jinlin is in need of people this summer. I heard that the medical research team has developed a cure for cancer. The research institute is anxious to verify this conclusion, so they need an expert. This was news Mo-san received this morning. Jinlin had specifically called him to inform him. Investigate the research team. Now that the laboratory isn't open, there shouldn't be a problem for Ayn Rand to enter. Keep the experimental data properly and don't let her find out, Mojirong said. Suddenly, Mojirong's phone rang. It was an anonymous call. The moment he picked up the call, he was stunned. Jinrong, long time no see. His memories returned to more than 10 years ago. It was his uncle's voice. Uncle, you... It's been so many years, I didn't expect you to recognize me so quickly. Are you curious about all of this? Don't worry, there will be an answer soon. The voice was calm and heavy with a hint of vicissitude. Mo Shangli smiled in front of the phone, seemingly without ill intentions. Is that really you? What exactly happened to you back then? Why did you call only now? Mojirong had a lot of questions he wanted to know the answers to, but Mo Shangli wouldn't let him have his way. I said that everything will have an answer. I'm calling you now to tell you that I'm still alive. I'll meet at my stepmother's place in 3 days. Mo Shangli hung up the phone quickly, but Mojirong didn't have time to locate him. What happened, young master? We were all on the ship, and he didn't die after jumping into the sea. Is he an imposter? Mo-san couldn't believe that Mo Shangli was still alive. He had been careful all these years, and this time his instincts told him to be very careful. No, if he wants to hide, then he can change his voice too. There's no need to copy him. This time he used his original voice to say that he wants to tell us the truth. Mojirong guessed that Mo Shangli must have had a purpose in coming back. Mo-san, check the number and see if you can find the owner. Young master, it isn't just this unfamiliar number today. There's news of the Kin family again. Recently, they have hired a cosmetics expert. I heard that he is good at making medicine and has snatched up more than half of our cosmetics market. Mo-san could sense that the Mo family is facing both internal and external troubles. He was worried about more than one thing. What's his name? In all his years of business world, Mojirong had never heard of anyone developing medicine, makeup, or the originator of this in the cosmetics industry. Chao Shen. I've investigated. He is Wrong City University's anatomy teacher. He isn't old, but I heard that the Kin family is treating him well. I brought this information. Young master, take a look. Because of the makeup he developed, our cosmetics market is going to suffer this month. Mo-san placed the documents gently on the table. Mojirong opened it and looked at it carefully, his eyes lighting up when he saw the information. Why didn't we discover such a talent earlier? Mojirong found the resume regretful. He was a senior pharmacist and has his own laboratory abroad before. He had also cultivated a world-renowned experimental agent for viruses, which more than half consisted of Chinese medicine. Now he has applied for a patient, and it turned out to be him. Kin Hao lived up to his name. He was actually able to invite him over. Chapter 340, Chao Shen. Wrong City University? Ayn Rand's school? Mojirong suddenly remembered this and wanted to see him. Young master, what do you think? Mo-san watched Mojirong close his eyes as he had an idea. Find a time to visit this person. Mojirong stood up, picking up his clothes to leave. Young master, are you going to see him now? No, to Grandma. Mojirong wondered if Mo Shangli had called old Mrs. Mo. He needed to give old Mrs. Mo a head up. After all, they hadn't seen each other in so many years. Who knew what happened to him? Young sir, do you want to invite young madam? Mo-san thought that Ayn Rand could be considered a member of the Mo family and could be there if he had something to discuss. No, don't tell her about it yet. I don't want to add to the risk. Mojirong knew that he was in a dangerous situation, and he didn't want to implicate Ayn Rand. Ayn Rand was in class, and when she saw the news online, she was furious. Ayn Rand, Yaxin must be using your brother's popularity. Zhao Xiaolei also saw the news online. She could tell at a glance that some of the answers were fabricated. How else could Yanren have beaten a classmate in school? Watch how I'll deal with her. Yanren thought of an idea. She felt that Yaxin was miserable enough and wanted to teach her a lesson. She immediately posted a message on the school's forum. She would avenge her brother against this malicious woman. Does anyone want to know anything about the school beauty, Lan Yaxin? Yanren used an anonymous alternate account so that no one would know that she did it. Someone immediately replied, "Who doesn't want to know about the school beauty? 1 yuan per question. As long as you pay, I'll tell you about the school beauty and we can discuss the details in private." Hence, some people believed it and started to invest 1 yuan, asking the questions they wanted to ask. I heard that Yaxin's father is in jail. Is that true? Of course. Her father was sentenced to 2 years in prison for privately dissecting a corpse. Heard that Yaxin has a birthmark on her chest. It's not a birthmark, it's a scar. That's why she never dared to wear collar-sized clothes. Is it true that Yaxin is always jealous of her cousin Anran? She isn't just jealous. She has also despicably used methods to deal with her second uncle's family. This time she wants Yanran's name to be tarnished. She usually pretends to be innocent. The questions came one after another, but they were all private messages. In just 5 minutes, Yanran received 250 yuan. When most of her classmates saw the post, she started to delete the post. But there were still many people who had come to the account to ask strange questions. Yanran answered patiently, each time reminding them not to tell anyone that she said it and that she would cancel the account in 3 minutes. As expected, 3 minutes later, her account was deleted, but everyone knew what they needed to know. The news from Yaxin had already spread throughout the school. She would get a taste of her own medicine. She would only know how pitiful it was when it was her turn. Yanran suddenly felt the joy of torturing her. A cat had to play with a mouse to satisfy its craving. Otherwise, it would be meaningless if it died in a single bite. Just then, the school bell rang and Li Yu walked in. Students, your chance has come again. The Wrong City Research Institute is recruiting students again. This year, for some reason, there is an exception. Only 1 student was admitted. He didn't specify, but everyone has a chance. If anyone wants to apply, go to the Research Institute for an interview. After the final exam, sign up during the summer break. Those who want to go, seize the opportunity. You don't have to worry about your internship next year. The class started to discuss again, but Anna knew that they were here for her. Anran, you're so godly. You said that they would be recruiting, and sure enough, they did. But there's only 1 person allowed. I believe that it must be you. Zhao Xiaolei smiled and said, she didn't waste this opportunity, which was a 1 in a million chance. Instead of wasting her time researching, she might as well find a hospital to attend a 9 to 5 class. If it didn't work out, she'd be content to go home and inherit the family business. Just recruiting 1 person is tougher than getting into a civil service. This person must be very outstanding. Anna didn't speak. She was calm in the face of the chattering environment. She had to attend the interview, but she was upset if she didn't surpass Yaxin. She was going to get her in trouble again. Anna, someone is looking for you. Li Yu walked in with a smile. Anna thought it was Mo Zhengrong who had come, so she was a little embarrassed. Last time at the school gate, she had talked about her a long time. Was he here to flaunt their love again? This man was really difficult to deal with. When Anna ran out and saw that it was Chao Shen, she sighed in relief, but also felt a little regretful. Hi, Anna. The man in front of her had a kind expression and a shrewd appearance. He stretched out his hand and smiled. Anna couldn't remember who he is, but found him familiar. You don't remember me? Last time in the anatomy class, I was your teacher, Chao Shen. When Chao Shen said this, she remembered the last time. She was the only one who was calm and collected, but even so, did he have such a deep impression from her? Good morning, teacher. What do you want? I'm not here today as a teacher. I'm here as your competitor. I know that you're married to Mo Zhengrong and now the young mistress of the Mo family. I will also bluntly admit that I am now the official pharmaceutical designer hired by the Qin family. I want to challenge you. I know that you're good at Chinese medicine, so I hope that you can accept my challenge. This is also a battle between the Qin family and the Mo family. Chao Shen's face turned solemn. As a businessman now, he preferred to speak like one. Anon was a little surprised. How did a university teacher suddenly accept someone else's offer and become a cosmetics developer? This is the first time she felt troubled. Although she often accepted challenges and was never afraid of them, this is a cosmetics research and development. She didn't know anything about this industry, so how could she accept this challenge? But I don't know anything about cosmetics research and development. It has nothing to do with Chinese medicine. I'm just a young lady of the Mo family. I have never interfered in the Mo family's business, so I won't be taking part of this. Anon directly refused. She wouldn't be embarrassing herself if she lost. She couldn't afford to embarrass the Mo family. I know your identity, Miss Zero. Chao Shen's son mentioned the Zero alerted Anon. How did he know her identity?